Hello and welcome to another episode of the Under-Hive Lorekeepers podcast, the number one Necromunda lore podcast as foretold by the spirits of our great and noble hive. As always, I am Spamiel, and to my right, the mendaciously mysterious Manvint himself, Nathan. How are you, buddy?
I'm very good. Yet another one that I don't think you know the meaning of. I certainly don't.
I do not.
Yeah, I certainly don't know the meaning of those M words. I know mysterious. Yes, that was a... But I reckon you should have gone for, in theme with our episode, miniature misplacing Manvent. You stupefying, silly Spamiel. That's an S word.
Firstly, no. You need to stay in your lane. I am the person who does the M words.
I'm taking over. This is the revolution. I learned from the prophet. I know what I'm doing.
You're the Manvent now.
Yes. Look at me. I'm the Manvent.
Miniature misplacing. Well, I'm not going to lie. I really like that. Because everything we're talking about today is no longer in the range. So, yeah, all right. You know what? Let's cut that, rewind. And to my right, the miniature misplacing Manvent himself, Nathan. How are you, buddy?
I'm really good. But you have glossed over the fact that I did say stupefying, silly Spamiel. Yes?
Because that was dumb and you're a dummy. There are no S words.
And they hurt.
There are no S words. That doesn't
comes
the
revolution,
baby.
Way. Here comes the revolution. I'm sorry.
Well,
the Temenos has inspired me, and cracking open the vaults of Temenos has inspired me, and I've found some ancient documents that prove I deserve a higher status on this podcast.
Okay.
I mean, they are written in crayon, and they are mine, but, they're my ancient documents.
You've been hanging out with Goliaths again by the sound of it.
Mate, you taste ruby red. It is an amazing flavour. The crayon colour.
My favourite food is crayon. Shout out to all of our Goliath listeners.
Yeah. How are you guys? I think that was slow enough.
How is your day, friend? No, we need to stop alienating our listeners.
We do.
You're good. I'm good.
Yes.
You've been cracking open vaults, and ironically, that is what we are doing today. We are opening up a new series here on Lorekeepers, and we are going back into the vaults of Yesteryear, where it's not necessarily things we have in-game now. They're those parts of the older lore from Confrontation, from N95, Outlanders, all of that may not be part of the modern lore anymore. They have little snippets here and there, but we want to talk about them. We want to talk about them because they are part of what made this game what it is.
Exactly. That's a perfect statement. They are the foundations, and we can see them. We can see them bleed into N17, but they are also the things that inspired, especially people of my ilk who have been gaming for a very long time, who inspired me when it came to just getting more and more involvement in miniature hobbying, not necessarily anything specific, but, you'd see something from Necromunda range or a Mordheim range, and you'd just be like, wow, I love that miniature. And that would take you down, the caryatid hole that it was taking you down in terms of the next miniature you were going to buy or the next project you were going to work on. And I'm sure that happens a lot for people these days, of course, but there was something, I don't know, more engaging back in the day, because you'd look at a miniature and you go, that's a full metal miniature. how am I going to cut that particular gun off? How am I going to, surgically strap that to a plastic miniature? So, and obviously the quality's improved. So back in the day, when you got a real banger of a miniature, it was really significant as well. So,
And I know there are going to be people who disagree with me here, but the number one arm workout for Necromunda and even 40k Mordheim hobbyists of that era was sawing off heads or arms or sawing off legs, because those metal miniatures, you couldn't just cut through them with your snips.
oh yeah,
You kids nowadays don't realize how good you've got. Everything is plastic. I put together the Warriors of Chaos Hell Cannon. I almost lost an eye putting that thing together, and I almost lost my sanity putting that thing together. Nowadays, you just, a little bit of super glue, slap that bad boy in, you are sorted. We pinned everything.
Yes. Oh, pinning. Oh, don't get me started. Actually, it's funny. Welcome to the derail. It's funny. Warhammer community, since the release of the Old World, has actually put up some information about how to deal with metal miniatures, and I read it purely for nostalgic reasons, and it was nostalgic, but then as I was finishing the article, I was like, oh, it's quite traumatic actually. This is bringing back some god-awful memories. But I do have another little story. It's actually related to one of our listeners, Power Hungry Monkey 84, and this is way back in the day. And I remember we were in a GW store together, and he was using actually the side cutters to cut a miniature, and it was a metal miniature. And he's sitting there for ages and ages and ages, and he actually snapped one of the cutting heads off, and it went flying. And at the time, we just did the store. We're just like, okay, all right, we're not doing that anymore. And it was like one of the store tools as well, so we had to, take another one off the shelf. But people gave it a go. People tried to snip metal miniatures, and it was something else. But look, that's one aspect. The miniatures, the lore as well, was such a big factor as well. That was what really sort of kept you going, as in terms of ideas, and I guess a lot what we do today of gang ideas and so forth. The lore back then, there was a real grittiness to it, a real sort of rawness, I guess, because it's it's the first print, and so there's so many avenues to explore and so many what ifs that you could really mess around with. It really didn't feel like the rules were hard and fast back then in regard to the lore. It was sort of, do you want to go down that pathway? Go for it. If you want to have, your corridor represented in this fashion, go for your life, because we haven't quite locked it down.
A lot of it was basically that rule of cool.
Yes.
We love to focus on. It was, oh man, what's going to be cool? Let's just, I don't know, let's make a psyker who gets bitten by a zombie, and now he's the zombie puppet master, and then we have the glory that is Karloff Valoy. I mean,
I appreciate you managed to mention him. Yeah, I know you're in love with him
because he's the best.
Yes,
and he's still alive, and he's coming to N17. I don't know how. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to do it, and it is going to be one of the happiest days of my life, because I'm going to get a modern Karloff Valoy model, and I'm still waiting on Mad Donna, and sorry, I'm going to re-rail this derail. We got to stop.
Yes,
we got to stop. Yeah. We're derailing, but yes, old school GW lore. They played hard. They played fast. And some of it doesn't make sense anymore, but at the end of the day, you got to look at it like everything is canon, except the things that aren't.
Exactly. And I there was a time as well that I can say where the old PC button wasn't hit very much. It was sort of back in the day, it was like, we just, we'll call this character that, or we'll display this particular faction in this particular way, and it was a bit loose with the old political correctness, which is, that's fine. There was a creativity that was happening there, which I think was sort of justified. As I said, very raw back in the day. But I guess that's a good lead into actually talking about the episode and who we are talking about.
We are talking about, in my opinion, probably the best non-house gang faction to ever grace Necromunda. We are talking about the Ratskins. And in this episode, we are going to go over the lore from N95, from Outlanders. We're going to talk about them from back then. And a lot of the stuff we're talking about is likely no longer canon. A lot of it can still be related to modern Necromunda, but we are also going to talk about how we would bring the Ratskins into modern Necromunda, how we would do their lore, how we would model them, how we would play them, and how we think their particular dynamic would work in the modern Necromunda setting.
Yeah, delving into the heritage of our game, and it's amazing to think that, so many years on, we actually have some heritage. We actually have stuff that is gone almost into legends, is a great place to sort of explore the game a little bit differently, especially for people who have only played the game from N17. So people have only engaged with Necromunda in the last 7 years or so. To be able to have...
Oh my god, it's been 7 years.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? To be able to go back and just engage with some of that heritage, I think is just a wonderful thing, just to sort of try and get your mind set in a different way. And John Blanche's artwork is something that we incorporate within that I incorporate in that mindset of the heritage of the game as well, where it was really expansive and explorative and just kind of rolled the dice on what the imagination was going to do. And I feel like a lot of that lore is doing that. And the Ratskins, for some reason, they really hold onto that. They make, and not just because they, basically have vanished, but also because there was this real grittiness, real hardiness about them.
Yeah.
That almost made them a little bit too real world. Do you know what I mean? It was...
Yes.
It was a bit crazy. You really had these over the top gangs. I remember the Goliaths being, the quintessential look for Necromunda, and then the Escher with over the top 1980s punk style, and all the other gangs really had this sci-fi look. Maybe the Orlocks were probably a little bit more on the, this is your pseudo sort of guardsmen if you wanted to play them like that. But then you had the Ratskins, who were just at another level, who were almost too real, you know what I mean? And that's something that I loved, and also something that probably saw them not carry a forth into N17. But anyway, we'll get into that proper later.
If we're talking about art real quick, there's that piece where the center point of the art is like a pit fighter, and he's got the huge storm bolter and then the huge hammer arm, and half of his face is almost like a metal sort of faceplate, and then you've got the Ratskin right up there in the foreground. Behind them, you've got a whole mess of Dalark with, remember the old Dalark where they were trench coats and the goggles,
yes,
and auto guns, and it's this black and white piece, and it's just beautiful. And you look at it and you just go, yeah, okay, this big fella with the hammer, he's pretty brutal, and you got all the guys behind him with guns, and that Ratskin up the front with the giant rats around him, and that, yeah, he almost looks too real to be there, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's sort of like, if you took...
It's also a beautiful piece of art.
It is. If you took a dystopian 1980s punk world and you had that Ratskin there, you would go, well, he sort of really matches. Well, speaking of real, we probably should get into the episode proper, I guess.
That sounds like a absolute re-rail to this derail. And listeners, if you do enjoy the show and you are interested in supporting the podcast, please shoot over to patreon.com/the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. We are 100% funded by the goodwill of our audience, though we do this for the love of Necromunda. Each month we have a Patreon exclusive episode, as well as competitions, polls on episodes, and other bonus content. If you are looking for another way to support us, get onto our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. A like and subscribe helps us grow and get our particular brand of Necromunda lore out into the world. All of the links will be in our show notes. And please don't forget to give us a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform.
Right, well, that's all the formal stuff done. I guess let's hook into the episode proper, as I sort of have alluded to. The Ratskin people have lived in the ruins of the Underhive for as long as time itself, and Ratskins regard the place as their ancestral home. They know almost nothing about the world that lies above their heads or beyond the hive. Ratskins have lived apart for so long that they have developed their own language, and only a few who visit the Underhive settlements to trade bother to learn the common tongue of the hive. That's actually quite a broad stroke of information about them. That a lot of that I actually really didn't know beforehand, but that's a lot of information in a very small read. Just the concept of them having their own language, which is almost a heresy in a way, and not speaking the Imperial Gothic. It's
I was gonna say like the Emperor's English.
Yeah, the Emperor's English. Yeah, big easy. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like 2 sentences that you've read so far, and it's just, oh yeah, the Ratskins have always been there. They don't really know anything about anyone else, and they're so separate that they don't even talk the same language, and the only ones that do are the weirdos that go to like trade with the outside people. It immediately shows that to their very core, they seem to be a completely separate race, I want to say, from those Imperials that cohabitate with them.
Oh, I totally agree with the idea that they would view themselves as completely separate, but it's not really separate. When you say a separate people, you're not talking necessarily about the genetic makeup of them, but more as a cultural thing, I guess. Which,
absolutely,
if Solar Macarius was there, or anybody existing from the Great Crusade, they would be stomped out for having that cultural difference from the Imperium. I think.
Oh yeah,
that's even
the Imperium stomped out much more powerful cultures for much less.
Exactly. So that's the thing that is sort of, I don't know, a little bit edgy from them, is that they are well, let's not use the word thriving because they didn't quite make N17, but they were a just decidedly culturally different segment of Necromunda, that whilst the sororitas were there, whilst the religious nutters, for more of a broader term, or the ecclesiarchy's there, whilst the Space Marines are there, they are still managing to exist. So I can only imagine that their numbers would be quite small to be able to maintain themselves and continue like that.
Yes, but it seems that, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later on, despite the fact they're not on the tabletop in a lot of the novellas and that sort of thing, and some of the sort of background information, the Ratskins are still there, and people seem to know about them. Everyone seems to know who the Ratskins are, so you can't imagine that information hasn't gotten up to the upper echelons of Hive society, and via them to either the Administratum or the Ministorum or the Adeptus Sororitas or the Adeptus Astartes. I can't imagine they wouldn't know about this, I guess, heathen group
Yeah.
that is just a couple of floors below, or maybe it's a few more than a couple floors.
Yeah.
But
So the only thing that I could think is going on here is that the process to get it through the administratum to notify somebody has just taken millennia. So it's just this incredibly slow process. Actually, it reminds me of this meme where the Imperial Guard are calling for help, and there's a tech priest, and he has to write out a message about needing reinforcements, and it's like, "Oh, praise the Omnissiah, holy God of the machine," does this huge long prayer. "May I have the courage and will to press this button?" And it's like the H for help, and and it takes him 5 minutes just to do the one prayer per letter. I'll see if I can find it and put it up on the Instagram, but it's actually really quite funny. So that's what I imagine is happening here. They've got sort of maybe an evolving or a changing process going on with the Ratskins. So as they go to send off the notary upstairs to the higher reaches, they're having to change the information. So like, oh, okay, bring it back. We found out something different about them. Oh, mighty administratum.
well, it also could come down to the Ratskins just being capable of evading sort of eradication when it does come.
Oh,
because we do know
Yep.
the Ratskins possess senses uniquely adapted to the conditions of the underhive. Their sight is incredibly keen, and it is commonly supposed they can see in even pitch darkness. And a Ratskin can smell out tiny differences in air quality and can track other hivers or hive creatures by scent. Their hearing is also finely attuned to the hive. The slightest sounds tell them where others might be, whether a tunnel is safe or if dangerous creatures lurk nearby. And every description we seem to get from every source about power armor is there's that constant hum. And you can just imagine, they send down a couple of Sisters of Battle or they send down a Space Marine and they can hear the humming of the power armor and they're just like,
yeah, right.
Yep, nah, something's there.
Yeah.
Take a step back, move back to sort of this here because they may not know what is there, but they know it's not normal, so they know it's bad.
That's the word I was going to use. It's not normal for this area, this place that we know like the back of our hand, this place that lives in our bones. There's something alien down here, and we instantly think it's a threat, which is probably what's helped them survive for so long.
Without doubt.
Yeah, right. So them as trackers and them as underhive, I don't know, I guess guides would be really cool, but it would also be really foreign for them to see something like a space marine. You take for example all of Necromunda, there would probably the vast majority, let's say 98% of the populace of Necromunda has probably never seen a space marine, and probably say 90% has never seen a sororitas. So
I have no problem with that percentage.
Yeah.
That even in like holographs or holopics or whatever they call them. Like I can't imagine you still actually need to be in a pretty nice area to have like a movie theater.
Yeah.
So beyond like, there are these really big blokes with big armor and huge guns, and they're just like, yeah, idiot, I know what a Goliath is. Nah, they're bigger than Goliath. Yeah, okay, buddy.
Yeah, all right. That exists. Yeah. Listen to this guy. Off with the fairies. Off with the carrier tits. That was unscripted, everybody. That was gold.
That was glorious.
Oh, that was awesome.
That's one of the best moments of my life.
That's a bit sad. Anyway.
I have 2 kids.
I can just imagine the youngest having getting covered in blue paint and with a pair of wings strapped to it for the next Halloween.
I Halloween costume idea. No, we're talking about Ratskins. We're talking about Ratskins.
You derailed me beautifully there. Well done. What was I going to say? Yes. Okay. So the idea, and it was in that little part of the read that I had as well, is that they seem to know nothing of the outside world. So it's fascinating that you have people on this planet that would know nothing of interstellar travel or, Zeppelins or stratoplanes or, anything else that would say, I guess airborne seems the most alien, They probably wouldn't even know about the sump sea or any of those type of things because they're so isolated to their own area. So the idea of a space marine rocking up, that would really just trigger everything. Or even just the hum of that power armor. Or even almost like, I guess you could say the Arbites rocking up into that particular area. And I'm not talking about the Palanites here, I'm talking about Arbites. Arbites rocking up. They would just be, this is, there's a little bit too much activity, a little bit too busy here.
This is strange.
Yeah, but I love the fact that it's part of their lore that they actually say that they know almost nothing about the world that lies above them or beyond the hive.
Yeah, but even if you look at your average hive citizen, the vast majority of them do not know about life outside of their dome, their spire, or their hive. Some of them know that they live in a hive and that there are many such hives on their planet, but to them, that's the entirety of the galaxy.
Yes. Yeah, but they would know that there is more to the galaxy, but they would not know necessarily.
But a lot of them don't. A lot of the lesser educated, you give them the concept of an open sky outside of the hive, and they become, is it agoraphobic, where they can't handle
where they can't go outside or
like
something
spaces
like that.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Lieutenant Cage, for example, from the Last Chances novels, was born on a hive city, and I believe he specifically spoke about that when he first left the hive. It was really common for hivers to freak out because they're just so not used to the concept of open skies. They know tunnels and manufactoriums and domes and spires, and they know that sort of stuff, which is why hive forces become so at home in cramped, tight spaces, because that's what they've, and evolve is the wrong word, but that's how they've acclimatized to existence, and that's how so many hivers are.
That's I don't want to go on a derail, but when you just said that hive forces, like,
did you just get a gang idea as well?
More like a regiment idea, but just like incredibly specialized urban fighters. How cool! Because the gang idea is that they're all urban fighters anyway. Do you know? And this is their thing. This is their jam, and it's almost like, you would be very difficult to crowbar the Ash Waste Nomads into the hive. But imagine a regiment of Imperial Guard that you just go, okay, yeah, we're not going to send you to a jungle world because we've got specialists for that, but we're going to send you to a fully industrialized world that's been taken over, and here's your conditions, and they would be frothing. They'd just be chomping at the bit to get into that area. But anyway, that's a different issue. So what you're saying is that the hive...
The downside is you would better have tanks.
You don't need them. You got
or artillery.
You don't need it. What's your Greek coordinates? Hit the big needle in the sky. Oh yeah, cool. But I'm 6 k's down from there. The artillery shell's not getting there.
I'm sorry. I'm derailing this back to your derail. I can imagine them all. It's like there'd be so many more like trench shotguns.
Yeah.
Like clubs, like short handle axes. Like, oh man,
but
fighting knives. Everyone with just a whopping big fighting knife.
Yeah, 100%. But what they would do is they'd steal all the weapon ideas that they would have seen other gangers using in their hives, and going, oh, that combi flamer auto gun that those Cawdor used to run around with, or whatever.
Oh,
that's exactly what I
get me
do.
one of those.
Yeah, and I'm going to make it by stealing stealing a flamer component and strapping it to my gun. And I might get one shot out of it before I completely cook it, but they would be a really ad hoc looking unit that you'd almost want to be playing like that 5,000 cred game of Necromunda to be able to run them, just so that you can have so much variation in the game.
Sorry. Totally unrelated to what you're talking about, but kind of related, and technically related to Ratskins. I got sent a whole bag of ratties.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's cool.
There's like 20 of them in here. I'm almost at 50.
Oh,
I'm going to have to start building them.
I found a whole bunch of rats as well. For some reason, I have a box, like a tub, a 60-litre tub full of Skaven bits. I don't know why.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know why. But anyway,
Ratskins.
Ratskins. Let's bring this back. I will say too, just in terms of candidness and openness about the podcast, we have had a few people go, love the derail, but like kind of get lost. So
yeah,
this is the big flashing light in the record going, we're coming back to Ratskins and forget.
Coming back to Ratskins, yeah. We're bringing it back.
Yeah. So what you're saying is they're dialed up to 11 in terms of their, I guess, ignorance of the outside world, where you have hivers who are very ignorant, and the Ratskins are just like, well, no, there's literally nothing that exists without outside of our 10k kilometre box that we live in, sort of thing.
I don't want to say the box. I think they know about the hive, and they would be knowledgeable of we know for fact they're knowledgeable of tunnels and the like that lead between hives, because they would see it as part of their same existence. Going to these other hives are simply going to other suburbs, other countries, still within their same existence. So they still know about the hives.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I just look at it, that fact of, if you say to them, if you go outside of the hive, they'd just be like, what?
Yeah.
No, like, I understand all of those words, but
yeah.
in the context you've used them, it makes no sense.
Yeah, righto. And you would have some older Ratskins who'd just be like, well, I've never been outside of our region because I don't need to go.
Yeah.
I have people who go to the marketplace, and I have people who, venture forth, and they can come back with their stories, but none of it interests me. So, yeah, you would, as I was saying, you'd have this cluster, this cadre of guys who just wouldn't even care about the world outside of their plot of land. And it leads us nicely into it, where we talk about the Ratskins care nothing for hive cities or the hivers that come from above. They do not understand the hivers' insane lust for scrap metals and glittering stones. Most of all, they are baffled by the foolish manner in which the settlers eat toxic fungus, fall down holes, blunder into roof falls, and generally act in a senseless and dangerous fashion. So basically, they look at all these hivers and these noble gangs and the forces that vaunt themselves in the highest manner, and they're like, they act like clowns, like proper clowns.
Why are they making so much noise? Don't they know there are millisors around that corner? Can't they see the subtle scratches at the bottom of that rock?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I just like the settlers eat toxic fungus. Like, it's exactly what you're saying. It's like, obviously, like, the Ratskins are looking at it going, well, that's clearly toxic fungus. We know that. Everybody knows that. It's common knowledge. And there's these hivers just going, double down on that. That is yum yum until I die.
That is delicious and totally unrelated, but why is Jimmy vomiting up his kidneys?
Yeah, exactly.
What's that? What, this is kidney vomit fungus? Nah, mate. Tastes like caramel. Can't be that.
Can't be. This is caramel vomit. A delicacy.
These are caramel mushrooms. You dummy. So and these Ratskins are just watching them like, how have these people survived?
Yeah. How do they live? Like, from where they come, how do they survive? Because there's no way they're going to survive much more than 24 hours here. But this is interesting because this harps back onto something from our fauna episode, our first fauna episode, and talking about the food on Necromunda. We're talking about the ash clams and what people are eating and so forth. what are the Ratskins eating? Rats?
I imagine it's going to be everything. Like we know, we know they harvested the blindsnake from the
Oh, yeah, they did, yeah, because they
remember
make
the
the blind
blindsnake
snake
pouches?
pouches, yeah.
Yeah.
But they're not eating corpse starch. 100% they're not eating corpse starch.
No, no.
'Cause-
I believe it would be more, traditional hunter-gatherer style. They're hunting rats. They're hunting millisaurs.
Giant
They're
spiders.
giant spiders.
They got another
Like,
mention. You're welcome.
don't. 'Cause the number of people is like, you guys missed the giant spiders. Like, yep. Like,
Yeah.
slotted it into the last episode. But you didn't mention giant spider. And then someone, I can't remember who it was, but it was great. Someone's just like, yeah, but you also forgot to mention like brain leaf zombies. And I'm like,
Yep.
wait, did I?
Oh.
And I'm not gonna talk about them. I have no need to insert brain leaf zombies into this particular episode. They will be put into a later episode when they are appropriate. But
I will say, sorry, just to cut you off there, I will say one thing. Our mate Luke actually said to me the other day, he said, you really need to do a fauna, what is it, 2.5 episode to fix it. It's like, you know nothing. You know nothing about Necromunda. Don't you dare come back at me at that. But
he's literally, shout out to Luke.
Shout out to
actually
Luke.
getting into Necromunda.
yeah.
Because he listens to us. He's like, yeah, you really like this. He'll message us, like, I didn't know this. It's great to know. But then he's like, yeah, you dummies, you really need to do another episode to fix up that screw up.
Yeah.
God, amateur hour over here. Like, Luke, shut your mouth.
Yeah. I didn't say that to him, obviously. I said, oh, no, that's a good idea. Thank you very much.
I'm saying that to him now on the podcast.
Yeah.
Luke,
Oh, no,
shut your
now that
mouth.
I'm not in front of him, I'm like, shut up.
I'm tough behind a microphone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely think they'd be hunting that. I love to think of Ratskins hunting giant spiders and, just traveling with, like, to various hunting grounds, sort of searching for food in that fashion.
Within the realm of their own, like, their own world, they would have these hunting grounds set up. So is there a concept of that they would have their own ecosystem set up, potentially?
We talk about it a little bit later on. They are definitely more in touch with the flora and fauna of the underhive than your average hiver is.
Yeah.
Like, in comparison to them, like, with the outsiders. In fact, although the outsiders puzzle and often anger them, the Ratskins are content to leave hivers alone so long as they leave the Ratskins in peace. So there are adventurous groups of Ratskins who trade with hivers and sometimes hire themselves out as guides or trackers, but typically they are self-sufficient and proud people who neither need nor want much from anyone. So, yeah, I think it's very much so they know if they're hungry where they can go and hunt giant spiders. If they, if they need poisons, they know where to go and harvest toxins and mushrooms and all that sort of stuff. But I also love in that where it's just like, yeah, man, sometimes people get a little bit crazy and they're like, oh, hi, I'm a Ratskin. I will guide you or help you find someone. And they're just like, yeah, I don't know you, but I know more about everything than you do. And these hivers are just like, oh, yeah, but do you know how to... Shh. No, I know more. I know more. You will pay me, and I will show you the way.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. And the real difference between them and the hivers, we sort of mentioned that in the last bit of a read, like the insane lust for scraps and metals and glittering stones, and then their ability to just be more in touch with their environment, whereas it's almost like the hivers and the scummers are trying to survive their environment. So where the Ratskins are, allowing it to become part of who they are and what they do. The flip side to it is you have a cluster of people, with the majority of, who are simply just trying to survive that environment.
Yes.
The vibe I'm getting from the Ratskins already is that they can integrate quite nicely and can survive for quite a long time without the need for a slopper, without the need for a hive market.
A hiver attempts to survive. Left to themselves, a group of ratskins will thrive.
Yes.
They do not abuse the hive. Like, I need another word that rhymes with "I've." I just realised I've basically been rapping. But they
Yes,
they
that's exactly
they
what I thought.
simply they flow with how it all is. They move from territory to territory.
Yeah.
And they they leave it as it was, as opposed to the hive is where they go in and go, oh, there's a bunch of iron here. Let's mine that bitch.
Yeah, let's wreck this location. Or there's an old manufactorum here with like green grassy bits growing in it. That's disgusting. Let's gut it and tear down the building for all the scrap. Whereas they've
Exactly.
destroyed some sort of minute ecosystem that might have been growing. But in relation to that last read you did, another question pops into my head about what the Ratskins would be thought of, the ones who go and trade with the hivers and the scummers and so forth. Like, are they the rebels? Are they the weird ones who, are attempting to integrate themselves into something that is just clearly not worth integrating into?
Are you talking about how they are thought of by hivers, or
No,
how they are thought of by other
by other
ratskins?
Ratskins. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple of points we'll talk about later on that specifically deal with this, but there's a line between someone who trades with hivers and is a ratskin guide or a scout, and then there is the other side of that line, which is not sort of seen as a good thing, who the Ratskins declare them as tainted by civilization,
Yeah,
where
righto.
they become aggressive and warlike.
Oh, right. So they begin to change their mindset and their personality because I guess if they're leading a group through an area and that say it's a group of Cawdor and then they suddenly get jumped by Goliath, the Ratskin's not going to be, well, I'm a pacifist and I don't get involved in this. They're going to have to jump on board and have a running battle with
Exactly.
these Goliath, which
Yeah.
would then change their mindset and change their concept about what it is to survive within that environment. And if they bring that mindset back into their own communities, they're going to be seen as exactly what you said, more warlike.
Exactly. So
Yes.
yeah, it's that concept of the Romans were great at it, where they'd move into a new area and they'd slowly start to civilize the new members of the protectorate.
Yeah, yeah.
And that first generation of barbarian was in leather pants and a leather jerkin, and had the beard and the mustache, and his kid shaved the beard and still had the mustache, but was starting to wear gold jewelry.
Yeah,
His son
righto.
maybe went to a cloth shirt, but then another generation he's more gentle. Another generation he's more gentle, and the generation after that he's a Roman with a different skin tone.
Yeah, yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like it's that steady taint of civilization.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. And yeah, as you say, we'll probably explore upon that a little bit more as we go down. But it's just an interesting concept. There's also the concept of what the hivers think of them as well. But we'll go into that a little bit later in the episode because I think we do touch on that. But the next point is about what the Ratskins think about themselves, which is sort of similar to what we're talking about anyway. So
Yeah,
Ratskins know their way around the underhive better than anyone else. They know about the main tunnels, the small crawl holes, and the shifting drains and sumps of the efflual flows. They know ways into and through the underhive, which the hivers are utterly ignorant of. They can find paths into domes which remain undiscovered and buried to ordinary men. Ratskins move through the hive effortlessly and mysteriously, disappearing almost magically, appearing as if from nowhere. They are the ghosts.
They are literally.
Yes.
But it goes back to what we were talking about before. They can see in the dark.
Yeah.
They can smell taint on the air. They can hear things better than everyone else. It's just this is their territory. It's where they grew up. It's where their parents grew up. It's where their great-grandparents grew up. These territories. And when you're walking the exact same paths every single day. Like, the first time I drove to the new workshop at work, I had to use my GPS.
I genuinely thought you were going to say the first time I drove to the underhive, and I'm like, mate, you've gone far too into this podcast. But anyway,
It's
yes.
like the first time I drove to the new workshop for my real life job, I had to have my GPS up, and I'm like, okay, I'll get a turn here, and in 500 meters, I'm turning here. Now, I genuinely think I could sleep and drive my van to work. I would hit a lot of other cars, but once the cars got out of the way, like I can tell you exactly the path to go to work, and if I can't turn down this street, I know what streets I can turn down.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
driving past, and I'm like, oh, okay, look, they're going to start painting their fence. Oh, look, they've painted their fence. You just start noticing these things. That's how I think the Ratskins are with the underhive.
I actually love that analogy. I really love that. Sorry to cut you off. It's dawned on me, like, because I'm reflecting on places that I drive to and so forth, and how much I know, and like just the idea of I watched some people put up a fence and then tear it down, and then put it up again, and tear it down again, and then put up a different fence, and you just think about that exactly what you're saying. I love it. It's a great way to understand that sort of familiarity and that inherent like bond you have with a region.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Now,
right.
now past that bond down on a generational level,
Yes.
where they know that the water in this particular, blown out manufactorium drips for the first X number of days of, their yearly cycle, but then it stops. But then they can get water from this blown out manufactorium. And to them, it's just, well, that's just what happens. The water flows here for some of the year and then here for some of the year. And in reality, 15 levels up, it's because this particular corridor, rubbish processing facility has water for half the year. And then because where they're washing off all the junk they're getting from their, the core door-to-door rubbish collection business I started.
Yes.
And then they turn the water onto the next giant pile of garbage to wash off generations of mud and sludge and junk.
Yeah.
And it gets filtered through all these levels of the hive. But to the Ratskins, it's just, the quarter have been doing this for 200 years.
Yeah.
So for 3 or 4 or 5 generations of Ratskins, they're like, no, there's water here for this part of the year, and then there's water here for this part of the year.
Yeah.
It's always been like that.
Yeah. How do you not know this? Like, if they were talking to a hiver, but for their generation, they teach them. This is where this comes from. I have a question to ask you. It's less about their sort of generational knowledge and their familiarity with the region. Do you think that perhaps, because of the way we've described the Ratskins, that perhaps they're sort of some engineered human that has been dumped on Necromunda?
Okay. So,
just for everybody's visual knowledge here, Sam just straightened up in the chair and sat up to describe what he's about to describe.
I believe that the Ratskins were likely the descendants of the original human inhabitants of Necromunda, Arrhenius Prime, whatever you want to call it. This lore has now been taken over by the Ashwaste nomads.
Yeah,
and you'll actually find a lot of the N95 lore for the Ratskins has been adjusted and given to the modern day iteration of the ash waste nomad. So the nomads, when we eventually do their episode, the nomads in N95 were still there, but they were a
Yeah.
very different sort of entity. They were more that a mixture of the conglomeration of exiled nobles and you know, gangers that had left the hives,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who simply
Displaced.
existed
Basically
in
displaced.
yeah, they were displaced populations.
So they are, as I mentioned, this displaced group, and they are separated from the hive so much so that they become alien to them, and they
Yes.
become, almost resentful in a way. I think that's the way the nomads are reflected in N95, and I'm happy to be corrected there. I've very limited knowledge about the nomads in N95, but that's the vibe I get. Whereas with obviously the Ratskins, it's more of an integration with the hives. As you say, they've moved their law more across the nomads, which is, I guess, from everything that we're talking about, is sort of more a bit befitting of where they sort of see them coming from and where they see themselves setting up. But I do love the idea that there is a local populace that is ingrained within the hive and doesn't need to be separate from them to have some sort of engagement with its natural environment. But it still leaves the question open of whether or not we think they are an abhuman, whether or not they
I
are genetically engineered.
I don't believe they are an abhuman. I don't believe they are genetically engineered. I simply think they are a pure example of humanity's ability to become a product of its environment, where
Ooh,
the
yes.
Ratskins, their ancestors, for whatever reasons, as hives grow larger, they grow out, they grow up. And with each generation, as new spires are built, the sheer weight of them crushes down on those lower platforms, on those lower domes. Because, and it depends on really where, we're changing this from a Ratskin episode to the anatomy of a hive. It really depends on how you get the information, but different places describe hives as either these big slab sort of like flat rectangles that sort of get added onto each level, and it builds up and up and up towards that pyramid.
Yeah, we mentioned that in the Hive Life,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
slab-sided sides of Hive primers as opposed to
Yes.
the way Temenos was built. But yeah, continue on. Yeah.
Exactly. But some of the older stuff describes the domes as literally like these huge concrete metal domes that are built, and then a level's just slapped on top of it, and then more are built on top of that. So as the weight happens, the domes down towards the bottom, they're just collapsing, and sometimes you get these hive quakes where it's the hive is going like Leaning Tower of Pisa,
Oh,
going
right.
either way because of the sheer weight of the construction that's happening on top.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I've been rambling about the anatomy of a hive is because after however many hundreds or thousands or possibly even tens of thousands of years, the ancestors of the Ratskins have chosen not to leave from these lower sections of the hive. So were they were they people who were told they couldn't leave? Were people who couldn't leave?
Yeah,
When
right.
maybe
Yep.
the doors were locked. Maybe
Yeah.
they pulled that classic Necromunda, lock the doors, but someone forgot to gas them.
Yeah,
But,
righto.
things like that. So they've been forced to adapt and forced to acclimatize to the horrific environment that they live in, which has allowed them to get more in touch with the environment around them,
Yeah.
which has allowed them to sort of go, oh man, we've had a bunch of our scouts or our gatherers going into this particular dome, and they're all reporting headaches, and they're coming back. So you have a bunch of them going there and be like, you notice that the air smells different here? And so they keep smelling and they keep smelling, and as time goes by, more of them are going there and they're smelling it and be like, no, 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 there's a gas in the air here. And it turns out it's like, I don't know, carbon monoxide that kills us.
I think so.
Dioxide.
We're no scientists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically, I'm not a scientist. But like, okay, the carbon oxide, but I'm going to get an email correcting me
you
about
definitely
it. I
get
may
the
as well just be
spaniel.
wrong.
Yeah, you could definitely get a spaniel correction on that one. Yeah.
Carbon trioxide. Screw it. But they notice that when you smell that particular smell, or if you're there and you notice that you're getting a headache, you get out because it's this particular gas. And that's just become generational knowledge.
So what you're saying is they're training their senses.
They've trained their senses over generations, and we have real life examples of it here, where indigenous groups who live in particularly mountainous areas have stronger legs, have greater lung capacities.
Yes, right.
You have Polynesian peoples who actively can be underwater for massive amounts of time because generation after generation after generation has taken part in that same activity.
Yeah, right. Okay. And when you go up hive and they're breeding people for gangs or for production lines, or just it's basically building 4 limbs and a head to go do some sort of inane menial activity, or just to be another corpse on a house battlefield. Yeah, they're not taking the time to create better people. It's you were almost talking about a utopian sort of world within the hive, where if you take the time to make better people, to make better circumstances, well, not necessarily circumstances, but make the best of the circumstances that you have in your hive, you make better people, and you can have people who can actually thrive in these environments without necessarily needing a ridiculous amount of violence to do it.
I'm not going to call this a Nathan correction, but I'm going to point out one thing that you've said that I just cannot agree with, and that is that you're saying utopia. No, the place they live sucks. It's like the worst parts of Necromunda.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is
they I don't know if they have like petrol stations and toilets. I genuinely I don't think they do.
No, I can't imagine they got a servo that they can simply just go get a Golden Gay time from, or whatever they're looking for. Right?
Where am I going to buy a Snickers in Ratskin territory?
You could get a pair of sneakers. Oh, you probably couldn't get them either, actually. But anyway.
Blindsnakers?
Actually, if you hire one of their scouts, that's a sneaker, because he does a lot of sneaking. You're welcome. But no, okay, utopia, yes, I'll stand corrected on that one. But I'm talking about them being able to actually survive in a way that they become, I don't know, they're not force-fed corpse starch. They're not, part of some great industrial machine. They're not being, beholden to a house. They've actually got something.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, they've got something that they evolved into a freedom. Something that they go, as long as we stay away from the hivers and the scummers and so forth, we can actually live almost I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it because I can't think of another word, a pure life within the hive or the underhive.
I definitely get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I still think it is, I think it's hell with a different set of glasses.
Right, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Yep. Yeah, where they think, hey, those dirty scummers and hivers from up hive who are lusting over scraps of metal, who don't know what the right fungus is to eat and blah, 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 what a horrible existence they have, because I'm wearing these glasses which prove that the existence I have is so much better because I know how to interact with my environment a lot better.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
So they're looking at it going, oh man, I would hate to be one of them. Whereas the hivers are looking at the Ratskins going, oh man, I would hate to be one of them.
Yeah, what a bunch of
what I mean?
backward bumpkins,
Yeah.
Yeah, worse
But
than the people of Trazior. Country bumpkin.
Trazia.
Trazior, yeah, they're backward bumpkins. Don't know the end of a las gun from the end of an
Oh,
auto
I mean,
rifle.
but they have. I mean, Russell Brand would be horrified to hear you slandering that after his performance in Gladiator,
Yeah.
when he came from those country coliseums all the way to Rome
Yeah.
itself. Honestly,
Colosseums
terrible.
on Necromunda. Just
Coliseums on Necromancer.
yeah.
Don't.
It's another episode. It's another big episode, that one.
But getting back to this, the hive itself, you sort of mentioned this earlier, and we're going to sort of look here into how the Ratskins themselves associate with the hive, because this is, in my opinion, something that makes them so unique, and in the modern context, I think would make them such a horrendously good addition. So, to the Ratskins, the underhive itself is actually a living place inhabited by sacred spirits, very much like the nomads from that modern lore. We mentioned that earlier. Now, it is a place with which they feel a natural harmony, a place which is great and beautiful in their eyes. And the Ratskins respect the hive as a mighty god, generous in its bounty and merciless in its vengeance. In their eyes, the underhive is often anger the hive by causing rock falls or caving in tunnels with their clumsy excavations. Sometimes hivers go too far, trespassing into sacred places or poisoning the native pools. Like
yeah.
this here.
Yeah.
Oh man, like, can you imagine you're some, like, basically prisoner with job, Orlok drudge, and the Orlok gang in charge of you has got you and your crew of, prisoners with jobs to go and to grab that iron we mentioned before. And there you are with your pickaxe made out of, like, a stick and then a sharp stick with, like, a rock duct taped to the end of it. And you're mining away at this iron slag, and it's your prisoner with job mandated once every 12-hour 4-minute break to have a sip of water, and you turn and there's just 6 Ratskins standing there staring at you, and you haven't realised, but they've killed everyone around you except you, because you were smart enough to put your sharp stick down, and you're just like, what's going on here? And the one of them that can speak Gothic is just like, you leave now.
Yeah, right. I get you. Yeah.
Like, that's terrifying. But this goes back to what you said before about them being heretics.
Oh, totally. The worshipping of a spirit other than the emperor is totally against the ecclesiarchy.
Or is it? And the next read is really going to contradict everything I'm about to say, but what if those missionaries from Temenos made their way down Hive, found a tribe of Ratskins, and remember what we were talking about in Last Hive Life? We were just like, oh, hey, you guys worship the sun? Yeah, the sun's the emperor.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys worship the hive? Yeah, the hive is actually the emperor. Like,
yeah, okay.
This would be a cool way to sort of, like, really bring an ecclesiarchal spin to a Ratskin gang, where it's sort of like being indoctrinated into the cult of the Imperium, but they think of the emperor as, the father hive.
The only hard sell that you would have within all of that is convincing them that the hive defeated Horus on the battle barge. So that would be the bit that they would just go.
The Vengeful Spirit was a Gloriana class vessel, wasn't it? The Gloriana class, the Vengeful Spirit was big, so I can imagine the entire hive was actually in that in that throne room on Vengeful Spirit, and that's Horace was pretty important. Can't fight a whole hive, mate. Imagine
No.
getting headbutted by a hive.
Yeah, exactly. Or if it does a little shuffle and just, hive quakes right on top of your nose, you're done.
Boom.
You're sorted.
Boom.
Yeah, right. So without being facetious, I do understand what you're saying. That the emperor is what gave you the hive, and if you worship the hive, therefore you worship the emperor. But a slight different tack to that. I love the idea that they worship the hive.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's their. What did they say? It's like their father. Their. You actually said it in the read itself.
It's a mighty god. It's generous in its bounty and merciless in its vengeance.
Yeah, right.
You
So
know?
it's a mighty god. Yeah, that's where I was going for. But they would see it as something that I don't know if I can't imagine them offering to it, but more so ensuring that it's protected. If the more we protect it, the more that it'll help us. And when it does turn on us, it means that we have dropped the ball somewhere, or we have,
Yes.
we've done something wrong. And this concept of worshipping a place, it's kind of like, having a religion with a church or some sort of building of worship, and worshipping the building and not necessarily the reason why the building is in place. And it's without having obviously done our nomad episode, but we did talk about it in the Ruins of Yardland episode about the spirits of the nomads and how they transplanted this idea of the spirits.
Phoenix Lords.
The Phoenix Lords, yeah, Phoenix Lords. How they transplanted this idea of the spirits into people. And it's cool, and it gives you a sense of, there potentially could be a miniature, or, it's a much better focal point, and it could have its fallibilities in it, and it could have its parts of greatness that you can extrapolate upon. But the actual concept of worshipping the place, it feels like all the negatives that come with it are just its being, its existence, and all the positives that come with it are its existence. And what you try to do, or the Ratskins try to do, is map out a pathway within there that is the least threatening and the least hurtful for them. And so if that means wiping out a gang of prisoners with jobs who are chipping away at one of the foundations, well, so be it. That's what we need to do, because the hive itself is sacred, not just the sacred areas that we have.
But they would almost see it as defending their god.
Yes.
Where, you see it, you're a religious nutter when it comes to 40k.
Yep.
Where you can imagine the fury and the vengeance that, the Black Templars or any of the really ecclesiastical
Yeah. No, yeah.
ecclesiastical
I'm with it,
aligned regiments and that sort of stuff would react if you burned down a shrine world or you used the Emperor's name in vain.
Or even if you just chip the paint on an incredibly impressive Land Raider. That's enough. Yeah,
Yeah, was that? Well, got to burn your whole village now.
yeah, exactly. Gotta get you.
That's what these Ratskins are doing. They're like, what are you doing? You're chipping away at our god.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you stupid hivers cause cave-ins and rockfalls. We need to stop you preemptively stopping you angering our god and causing our god to lash out in vengeance that may in turn injure our people.
Yeah.
Because we didn't stop you fast enough.
Yeah, and it's very interesting that they see themselves as, like, I imagine that they would see themselves as these protectors, and they see the underhivers, the scummers and so forth, as the negative elements to this, because they don't protect the land, for use of a better term, the way that they do. So even though the Ratskins may do a few wrong things, they don't do as much wrong as the other underhivers there. And so henceforth they become the good guys in their own mind, which is a wonderful pathway to take as a religious nutter. Being able to make everybody else the enemy and you as the number one. No, we're the good guys. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about what they have to say. But anyway, speaking of religious nutters, we'll go into the next section. Away from the preachers of the ecclesiarchy, the Ratskins do not share any of the same beliefs common amongst the normal citizens of the Imperium. Instead, they have formed an animistic form of shamanism in relation to the hive. Coming to worship the spirits of the hive, they treat the city as a living ecosystem prone to moods and tempers. Therefore, in living native, they have come to respect and predict environmental conditions in the hive bottom, such as hive quakes or toxic mists. Unfortunately, this outlook on life would make the Ratskins heretics if their tribes could be located. The hive guilds have placed bounties upon the Ratskins, and they are not welcome amongst imperial society. So that animistic element that we're talking about, it's about putting a soul, attaching a soul or attaching some form of deification to objects. So this is, this is our lump of sludge that we know stopped the influx of a toxic gas after it fell here. And this was the hive protecting us from that toxic gas. So it dropped the sludge into this area, and like very much like your analogy, not your example before, where the cord or cutting off certain water supplies, it could be from a Goliath forge going, we need to dump this garbage, just send it down hive, whatever. And this small trickle has hit. And it was probably them who created the toxic gas that led down into the underhive anyway. But they've also created this toxic sludge. And now they see it because the Ratskins would see that and go, well, that was the hive understanding that we had done everything we could to prevent this toxic gas from taking hold here. And it offered this sludge. And now that sludge, that's what becomes a point of deification, where they go, this deification of objects, of things that are happening within the hive, would be so integral within their belief system. And so it would be, I think it would go beyond the idea of a worship of the hive as a singular. That would be, the overarching, but there would certainly be smaller elements of their environment that they would be praising and worshipping. They would probably have an untold amount of minor and small gods that they would pray to or reflect upon when they're doing particular tasks. So, the tracker leading down a certain pathway, and, maybe there has been a hive quake and maybe some things have moved, and he starts to pray to, the Lord of Tremors or something along those lines, and then suddenly a glittering sign that used to always be there suddenly appears in the corner of his eye. And he thinks, well, that's the Lord of Tremors moving that bit of rubble for me to show me that I'm actually still in the right place. And
it's the. So, do you believe, sort of leaning in on sort of your concept here of the inherent divinity of the parts of the hive? Do you think that maybe they would have a pantheon of gods, or are all of these gods merely facets of the hive?
that is a really good question. I like the idea of a pantheon, but I feel like the hive would be moving and changing so much, and not just because of the man-made and natural phenomena that happens to the hive, but from groups of underhivers coming down and changing things, attempting to mine something. So they would almost have to. I like the idea that they would be praying to some sort of entity, the Lord of Tremors, as I mentioned earlier, or, the Lord of Casings, and they can see, these particular rusted bullet casings that are always left here are now gone. So the Lord of Casings is telling us not to use this path anymore, but simply it's been picked up by somebody who found a small amount of, necrotic slime in it or something along those lines.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that is a pantheon of gods, but I just see it more as an evolving, almost organic state in which they are attaching this deification to all of these things that exist within their world. If that answers your question.
I like that. Yeah, it does. I like that. These individual spirits and these individual facets, both individual things that are guiding and aiding the Ratskins in their own way, but at the same time are still a part of, mother or father hive.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
really like that.
Another interesting part of the read is it says that they are able to predict environmental conditions such as hivequake, toxismess, and all that so forth. It sort of reminds me of like the notion, no, well, not reminds me, but it gives me the concept of the notion of, when a volcano starts rumbling and you've had two generations of people who've lived near the base of the volcano and they're just like, it's just rumbling today. It's not ready to pop. We know when
Yeah,
it's ready to
yeah,
pop. And then when they've stopped making their cup of tea and they're just staring intently at the volcano, and that's when she might be ready to blow, because that's when they've started to realise, oh, it's not on a rumble today. It seems a bit more serious. It seems a lot more angrier, and that's why I see the Ratskins is that
yeah,
they are looking at the hive around them and going, well, the hive, she doesn't feel good today. She's there's an anger to her, or a discomfort going on, and it could be that an underground tunnel is being opened for the first time in centuries, and it could be that wrong noise, and it starts activating systems that have gone untouched and unmaintained for such a long time, and things start to break, and they can hear, as you were talking about earlier, the whir of a power armored suit and the hum of the electronics and mechanics, but they can hear the hive straining and groaning in ways that it doesn't normally do. It's like when you're in your own house at night and it starts to settle and it has the creaks, and you go, that's my house creaking.
yes,
But when you
yes.
hear somebody walking on your floorboards, you're like, hang on, that's not my house settling. That's something that raises the hairs on my arm, and this is something that gets me very alert and very attentive, and whatever I'm doing needs to stop right now because I need to be focused on this situation. And that's the way I see them interacting with the hive when they're looking, well, as it says, when they're able to predict these environmental conditions.
But that goes back to what we talked about before, that over however many generations, they've developed that knowledge and that level of affinity with the hive that they know these things. And you've said it great there, where, you know, they're listening to that rumble and he's, making a cup of tea. He goes, no, that's fine. That's
Yeah,
fine. And then, a couple of days later, the Ratskin woman down the way, she's making that cup of tea and she hears it just differently. And she, nah, everyone pack up, we're out of here. And I'm
yeah,
like, why? It's like, listen. And they all listen. They go, nope, she's absolutely right. Pack up, get out of here. Because they can hear, yeah, that door that hasn't been opened in 5 generations. And the last time it was opened, a bunch of hivers came in and they had to flee then because they were searching for something. And it just happens that scavengers have found this door again. And it's just little things like that. I love that.
yeah, and it's I guess it's a way of trying to attach some reality to their belief system. Do you know?
Yeah.
And 40k is very big on that, about having something tangible about your belief system. The emperor did defeat Horus. Khorne will bless you. You know, Mork will give you a gun that fires because you think it fires.
Yeah.
The religious sense of 40k is that it gives you some sort of tangible nature. It's not just happening because of the divinity of it or the divine intervention. There is a reason why these things happen, and sometimes it is just the light of the emperor shining on. But yeah, as I say, 40k is big on that, and I can see that.
So it's actually funny you mentioned it before about, the we talked about with the the heretic, the heathen Ratskins being destroyed by the church or by the Space Marines or the Sororitas. The the Ratskins would be killed if anyone could find them. If anyone could find their tribes, they'd be dead. But no one's able to find them, so they're okay because they keep moving. And the Space Marines or the Sororitas or even the guilds. The guilds have placed bounties on them, but apparently the bounty hunters can't find enough of them to wipe them out. Like, I can imagine there'd be hunting parties and that, but you would have to find a group of people who are more adept at running away from you than you are at catching them.
Right. I get what you're saying. Like, that's their bread and butter. That's their day to
Yeah.
day. Yeah. And if
But also, they're not welcome among society. Like, we don't want to be part of your society.
Yeah.
Leave us alone.
yeah, exactly.
But this leads us into a little bit about their settlements. Now, traditionally, Ratskins live in small communities that are hidden from settlers and explorers. They cultivate cane spore, which provides food as well as the reed-like building material, and they hunt the rat herds that infest the hive. We said that before. They'd definitely be hunting rats.
It's in the name.
Now, I'm going to pause this read because I really want to know more about this cane spore. Like, I imagine like giant sugar cane, but also bamboo.
Yeah. I'm more inclined to go the giant sugarcane route, but does it need soil? Is it hydroponic?
Yeah, is it growing out of rocks, or is it like is it just finding?
Is it a form of fungus? And they just call it cane spore. Yeah. And does it create like, this material that's like a wood-like material, but from a fungus? You know what I mean? And so that's or a reed-like material, but from a fungus.
All I need to do is, it was I believe, was it the war cry terrain that was done like, that was done out of it almost looked like bamboo from back when, it was like the last season of War Cry, when they were in the...
Yes, I know
the forests?
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't name it for you, but I know what you're talking about. How very helpful is that?
Yeah, that was super unhelpful. Like, I know the scales of Talaxis has a little bit of like the bamboo-looking walkways and stuff. Oh man, I'm gonna remember this at like 3:00 this morning. I'm gonna sit up. It'll be like a movie. I'll sit up and I'll scream out the word, and I'll wake up my wife and my kids, and then I'll be sleeping in the garage.
But at least you'll have time to put it on Instagram.
Yep. But yeah, I think that's a crazy little view into Ratskin society that people just don't think of. It's like, what are they building their properties out of, their houses, and what are they using? Oh, they must just live in the ruins and that. No, they literally have this. I'm just going to picture it like bamboo, but with sugarcane in it.
Yeah, well, they're using it for food as well. And this is what we were talking about earlier. What are they surviving on? And so if they're hunting the rat herds, they're surviving on the rat meat, and they have this cane spore. Ew. But yeah, fair enough. Yeah, rat milk.
It's chock full of vitamin R.
According to Imperial Legate, it is the number one vitamin you need. Yes, according to Big E, is if you don't have enough vitamin R, you won't hold back the tides of chaos. Yeah, absolutely.
Someone's been reading his Imperial Infantryman's Uplifting Primer. Good man.
Too much. But yeah, it's this again. It answers some questions. What do they eat, and how do they go about their day to day? But my word, it certainly opens up a lot more questions about exactly how they cultivate this cane spore, and what do the rat herds move like? Are they something that's seasonal? Is it something? Do they have other creatures that help them hunt the rats? Do you know?
Oh my god, they've got bigger rats to hunt the smaller rats.
I was thinking
wolf rats.
Yeah, wolf rats. They have like turncoat rats that they've domesticated that allow them to hunt these rats, which is just horrible in that way because the poor rats being hunted by one of their own.
And obviously certain tribes of Ratskins that are near, sort of more closer to the sump, I'd say, would obviously be breeding, cultivating and harvesting huge fields of ash clams.
Ash clams, yes. Why wouldn't they? They're near the sump sea, so they, they go for ash clams or. But yeah, this cult, the
law
idea of
writes
cult,
itself.
absolutely, this is canon. But yeah, the simple word of putting in cultivating the the cane spore has derailed me quite nicely here. I want to we always do this. We always end up finding this silly little point. I'm like, I just really want to know what agriculture looks like on Necromunda now. It's super
We're
important.
We're gonna get someone with a degree in agriculture who's like, well, actually, it's based on the South American cane bamboo. It actually grows specifically out of crystals, and we're just like,
Okay.
so is it sugar? Are they basically all just eating toffee?
Do they not have any teeth left? Is that why they hide away? Oh, the poor things don't want to smile at people. Yeah.
So for the most part, they actually avoid the foolish intruders whose heathen ways often offend the spirits of the hive, though most settlers soon succumb to predators, toxic fungi, roof falls, or some other inherent danger, which all goes to show that the hive is as intolerant of those who fail to show the proper respect that the spirits are due. They genuinely think the hive is killing the hivers
Yes.
for not showing the respect.
Yeah, and it's like what we touched on. Yeah, the hivers do the wrong thing, they cop it, and we're the good guys, and that's why we are allowed to grow our cane spore in this particular area.
Off those particular crystals.
Off those particular crystals, absolutely, 100%. But it's funny that most settlers succumb to predators, toxic fungi, roof falls. I feel like those three are things that the Ratskins are actually doing to them, setting the predators on them, offering the toxic fungi, setting them up for a roof fall.
Yeah, usually we'd make a bunch of noise and scare off those Millisaur. Do you guys want to just go that way real quiet like? Because guaranteed those idiots are going to walk past straight through that Millisaur nest. Yeah, right. And then, they go to the side and they're watching, and these, this gang of poor bloody Escher are walking past. They're like, oh, yeah, cool. Next thing you know, they're attacked by Millisaurs, or they're walking through an amble nest, or, whatever nonsense that the Ratskins know is there. And they're just like, they really should have turned left instead of right. Yep, they should have zigged instead of zagged.
Exactly.
And, well, we'll wait till, the end of this cycle, because that's when we know typically this particular herd of Millisaurs is migrating back towards the water source. We'll go down and we'll loot the bodies. Yeah, sounds like a plan.
Would they loot the bodies?
It depends. It depends on the Ratskin.
Right. This leads us into another chat about, are there different tribes of Ratskins? Because I don't see them as a collective community.
Though they are, there is a novella by the name of, I believe it was Emperor's Eyes, where it is told from the perspective of Two Tails. He's known as a story singer, I believe, and he is basically telling the story of his life to these 5 Ratskin children, and basically saying, hey, at the end of this story, the 5 of you are going on a quest, and one of you will return and become the new, and I'm pretty sure it is story singer. It's like one of the you're going to come back and you're going to be the new story singer. And he meets, for this story that he tells, this one particular brave he's talking about meets a Ratskin who's been civilized, like we talked about before.
Oh,
and,
right. Yeah.
He mentions his tribe. I want to say it was like the 2 snakes. But his particular tribe where it's a great novella. I bought it years ago when it came out. I think it was one of the remember those Christmas 12 novellas in
Oh,
12
yeah.
days or whatever it is.
Geez.
I'm pretty sure
That
it
was
was one of
a
them.
long time ago.
Yeah, I think this thing was like 2018 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great. It's great, and it gives a really interesting perspective on the Ratskins because there are different tribes to the point of some of these tribes just straight up don't like each other,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's very similar to how we would view like the concept of a Terran techno barbarian, where I guess we're all the same people, but we're the Blacktooth tribe, and you're the the Broken Cog tribe. Yes, we believe the exact same things, but you chew on charcoal before battle, so you have those black teeth, and we have fight under the symbol of the Broken Cog. So we have to kill each other now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the situation of these Thunder Warriors come along, we're gonna side up together to fight them because we're still one people. We just fight differently, and that's how the Ratskins are.
Yeah, yeah. You eat
yeah.
cane spores and we eat cane mushrooms. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
Your cane spores are actually affecting you badly and we need to knock you in place. Yeah, I understand.
Or you worship the Lord of Tremors and we worship the Spirit of Tremors and we worship the Spirit of Casings.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
at the end of the day, if the Up-Hive has come down to us, we will unite and fight against them.
Yep, yep.
Much like the gangers. But once that issue is gone,
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah, because I owe you for what you did to my particular tribe or how you led particular hivers into our region knowing they were going to cause trouble. So we need to also understand that the Ratskins are actually not really violent. They're almost the good guys of 40k. So,
No. No.
Non-violence in 40k means that you're a good guy. So
the only good guy in 40k is the orcs. But this is not our 40k podcast.
Wait a second. Let me ask you that then. Why the orcs?
Because they're not cruel. They're doing what they're built to do. They're doing what comes entirely natural to them.
Absolutely. It's exactly why I play them in fantasy. They're just like, let's have a bash, lads. Why?
No, yes.
Yeah,
No,
why not?
Yes, they have empires and they take slaves. That is simply, prisoners with jobs.
Yep.
But that is a byproduct of the orcoid natural need and desire to be a warrior.
Yeah.
If anyone is at fault for what the orcs do in 40k, it is the old ones. They did it. They made them.
Yeah, no, I agree that, but yeah, you can't say they're evil because of their nature. It's almost sort of the Tyranids are similar in a way.
No,
but
I actually had this argument recently. I'm just derailing you right here.
I asked the question, so I'm interested. Okay. Yeah.
The Tyranids are neither good nor evil. They are simply a force of nature. The only true quote-unquote good guys of the 40k universe as a race or a species, I will say the orcs.
Yep.
As a sort of collective or faction, I would probably say the Adeptus Custodes, or Custodes if you're pronouncing it wrong, and the worst of the worst is the Dark Eldar.
Oh yeah, no. They take the cake and they do horrible things to it and you with the cake. Yes. I still rate the Guard inherently. The Guard are good because
No. They are the foot soldiers of an oppressive regime.
No. But their ethos is to defend humanity. That is all.
And if that were true, they would simply form a ring of steel around the Imperium, and that would be it. Instead, they push crusades into other areas, and they attack other species.
That's still a defense, just an
Absolutely
offensive
not.
defense. Okay.
We can go into this on our 40k podcast. Who is good and who is bad. With Archons and Samuel and Nathan.
Get
Who is bad?
coming.
All who are not us. Who is good? Us.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Very nice, Mr. Dark Elder.
Bring me my whipping boy.
Right. Anyway, so we
Ratskins.
know the Ratskins are not necessarily a violent group or a violent. Well, we use this term because we're in Necromunda, a violent gang. So
No.
the way they interact with each other is probably not necessarily going to be towards violence to have an outcome. And actually, it leads nicely into our next read that living in tribal communities, they do not interact or trade with hivers in any way. And this is obviously the Ratskins as a whole, not the small elements we've talked about.
The vast majority of them.
The vast majority, yes, exactly. Finding their customs, the customs of the hivers, finding their customs and behaviours bizarre and strange. Normal Ratskin tribes do not engage in violent conduct, arguing that the soul of a slain enemy will return to seek vengeance. Thus, if they ever encounter a normal citizen of the hive, they will quietly move the tribe to another location.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, it's great. And if you're in a small enough tribe, you can do it. You can squirrel away somewhere else.
But it's...
Squirrels in Necromunda.
I was expecting... there are actually squirrels in 40k, and they're terrifying.
Squirrel skins. Anyway. No, let me finish the second part of the read before we add more coal to the engine of the derail. Though they live primitive, self-sufficient lives, the Ratskins do consider archaeotech to be sacred, and while they do not use ancient technology, they maintain that sites containing archaeotech are favoured by the spirits. Thus, locations containing archaeotech are often the only static territories held by the nomadic Ratskins. And just for good measure, archaeotech, if I hadn't already said archaeotech 72 times in the last minute. Archaeotech. So this is exactly what we were sort of alluding to from the previous read, is that there is tribal interactions that, and we know they're not going to lead to violent outcomes because obviously they have that belief that the spirit or the soul of the slain enemy will return to seek vengeance. And it's interesting to wonder exactly what that return looks like. And given their way that they would see the spirit of the hive as in, well, I guess our canon for it, that a hive quake is a result of them not, aligning something or tightening the bolts on a particular bulkhead or something like that, then that vengeance of the slain enemy would not necessarily be something so direct as in a spirit coming back to haunt you, but it could be that, 2 or 3 members of their tribe suddenly succumb to some sort of pox, and so they would say, well, I killed XYZ from this gang or for this tribe, and so this is coming back, and this is how the vengeance is enacted. And this is that whole belief and structural system that we're talking about, that if you attach enough belief to it, you create this deification, or now this concept of belief that they can simply go, anything bad that happens to us is a result of the negative actions we've taken.
It's those specific Ratskins that have caused that problem. They're saying this is your fault, your actions, like you going out and attacking those hivers or stealing from that convoy, or maybe even interacting negatively and getting into a shoving match with another Ratskin at one of those static territories they hold. You've invited this negativity on not only yourself, but the whole tribe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool way to look at it.
And that would cement the idea that they're, non-violent, because the vengeance that's enacted upon them is not so direct as to what we'd expect when, say, House Goliath gunned down somebody from House Van Sar. The vengeance that comes from House Van Sar will be direct. It'll be an attack on the Goliaths, like, steal the entire supply of crayons for that month or something.
But it's not even a big reason. It's like, why'd you shoot him? Yes.
Yeah. He's funny.
Yeah. I like watching him die.
Yeah.
I mean, grim, but yeah, that's pretty good. Then they're all looking at that one Goliath like, how you know word grim?
Yeah. You spend too much time with book.
Me shoot you now.
Yeah.
Once again, alienating.
No, we
love our
Goliath.
listeners.
We love our Goliath listeners. We love our Goliath gangers. They are the best.
All three of them who know how to press the play button probably won't be too offended. But I love what you also... So, okay, here's a question. Ratskins will not... So, they encounter these normal citizens, whether they're hunting or that sort of thing, and they come across scavengers. They're obviously going to fall back to their to positions they can watch these hivers and watch them leave or whatever. But if they think they're going to come into contact with the tribe, it's going to pack everything up. We got to get out of here. Cool. Here's a question. The Ratskins are approached with violence by hivers. Do you believe that this belief system of theirs, that they don't engage in violent conduct, also extends to self-defense?
No. I think self-defense is almost a natural requirement of living on a place like Necromunda. So the Millisors start attacking a tribe camp. Obviously, they're going to react with violence to protect themselves. So that they're not violent, but they're capable of violence. That's the way I view them.
Their mindset is you do not commit violence upon someone, but you can defend yourself.
Yeah, yes.
That's the way you see it? Cool.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
no, I really like that.
Because the concept would be that if you, and this is, my own brain cannon happening here, the concept would be that if I were to attack a hive or another rat skin or even a squirrel skin, and the rare ones that are out there, they are real. If I was to attack somebody...
Gang idea.
I can
Are
tell
there any
you...
squirrel models? Yeah, there are. There's one in the... Oh, man, is it the halfling...
It is... Oh,
is one of the halfling Blood Bowl team?
Yes, I remember seeing.
I swear there's one on the back of like a tree man or something somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think any of the Age of Sigmar stuff. But either way, this gang idea is nuts.
And that's been our latest episode. It was going great until the nuts joke. I'm kidding. I loved that joke. That was really good.
Squirrels. Anyway, so getting back to the Ratskins and their concept of violence, I think if you were to, and as I said, it's my own brain cannon firing off here, is that, so if you approach a situation with a malicious or Drukhari type of intent, then that is what I would suggest that they would expect to get some sort of retribution from or some sort of vengeance. But if you're simply saying, we need to stop these people from, destroying our people or destroying our territory, there's no intent to hurt. There's simply an intent to protect. And it's sort of, I'm not going to say it's noble, but it's certainly better than going, well, we're going to go a little bit up hive and destroy their marketplace because they destroyed some of our cane spores. That's a completely different energy and a completely different idea because, you're going off there with vengeance or maliciousness or, just general naughtiness in your mind.
And the Ratskins are literally just defending themselves.
Yeah.
And they may try and fight you back. And so until they know, they can then pack everything up, gather their wounded and their dead, and then retreat to a secondary camp.
Yes, exactly. The way I envisage it is that it's not about how many we can kill to defend ourselves, it's how much time we can create, or can we drive them off? Can we create a scenario where we can safely migrate somewhere else?
Yeah, I really like that.
But we haven't touched on the archaeotech. We need to.
No, we haven't. We haven't. I love this. So, the concept that the Ratskins are nomadic, I think is great. You know, it makes so much sense that they're traveling with the herds of animals they hunt, and they're traveling to, like we said before, that there's water here for half of the year, there's water here for half of the year. They're traveling to where they know there's going to be water, so, or where they know other tribes aren't going to be for that portion of the year. And that the concept of the only real static settlements they have being those places where there are highly concentrated amounts of archaeotech. Oh man, I love this because that's almost like their temples. It's
Right.
almost like
Yes.
their places of worship for, what did we call them before? Father Hive,
Yeah. Yeah. Or
you
yeah.
know?
Mother
Their
Mother Hive. I can't
Mother
remember.
Hive.
Yep.
Mother Hive. Actually, I prefer Mother Hive because
Yeah. I don't know.
it gives birth to, it's like
Yeah.
Mother Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where they worship Mother Hive. That's where they worship, the spirit of tremors and the spirit of casings and these places where they know that if they go to it and their priests or shamans make they had the Ratskin shamans. The
Yes.
shamans pray to these idols they have, and they pour dirty water into the top of this idol, and it produces clean water. It's actually just a water filtration system,
Yep.
but they don't know that. They know that if their shamans pray to it, that it gives them the blessing of pure water. So naturally, they would protect this from everyone. Like, I'm absolutely in love with that concept because it is so against everything else we have in Necromunda. Everyone else in Necromunda is a horrible bastard man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the Ratskins are just, no, we love Mother Hive.
Yeah, yeah, and the way that they use the archaeotech is not in some form of exploitation or some sort
No.
of way that they're tapping into it and almost corrupting it. You know, there's certain gangs out there that just abuse the fact that they have access to archaeotech, and they create some horrible outcomes from it.
Yeah. But this is, if you go back to the Outlanders rulebook where the Ratskins were introduced as a gang in N95, they had access to a lot of common equipment like your knives and swords and axes and flails, and then with pistols, I think it was like auto guns and stub guns, your auto gun, shotgun, that sort of thing for basic weapons. But they had access to stuff like some of their models had like handbows
Yeah.
or muskets and that sort of thing, and it showed their what's the word I'm looking for? Their non-reliance on a lot of modern gear.
Yeah.
Where these, like a musket, you look at a musket and you're like, mate, I've got this Cantrell pattern las gun. I can pump out 200 shots from a single pack in 60 seconds, or I have this heavy stubber that lets me pump out 1,000 rounds in in 5-10 second bursts. Like,
Yeah.
what are you coming out with a musket? And the Ratskin's just like, I only need one shot. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need to shoot that many times. Like, I only ever need one.
Yeah.
And I love it. I think it gives them so much character because later on you could sort of trade differently equipment wise, and they were what's the word I'm looking for? they were isolationists in regards to that sort of thing, but they were still equipped enough that they could defend themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. The environment that they're in would force them to have access to these weapons. So when you look at them, they might have basic stuff. They might have shotguns and, as you mentioned, muskets, which I do love muskets because I first saw muskets in second ed in
Yeah.
in the armories book, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But never, obviously, you never see them in the 40k universe until they finally had the I think it's the young bloods wielding them. But
Yeah.
they would be they're not stupid. They would be putting themselves in a situation where they can actually defend themselves, and it might be rudimentary and it might be basic, and they're not going to have the incredible tech of, say, the Vansar, or the brutal sort of toxins and poisons that are available to Escher, but they will have enough. If they are shooting at you, you're going to keep your head down, and that would be the main goal.
Well, I'm pretty sure Ratskins were outlaws at Generation from the Outlanders rulebook, but you still obviously had the outlaw trading post, so you still obviously had the opportunity to get yourself, like, quote unquote real gear. Like, you could still do all of that, and that was a way you could bring them back, sort of like into competition with the other gangs, sorry, because you had access to your weapons and gear and equipment, and like heavy weapons, missile launchers, melter guns, all that sort of stuff. But man, I just well, I've sort of gone on this huge like gang creation tangent there,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it was so cool that they really did have that almost forced primitive aspect.
Yeah, absolutely.
As the tribes.
But it needs to happen because that's the way they should be played. And the more we talk about them in this episode, I see them as a great tool for an arbitrator, where you stumble upon a ratskin enclave or a settlement or whatever, or you stumble upon a patrol of theirs or something along those lines, or you manage to find an archaeotech location, one of their sacred sites. And it was something I was going to mention earlier when you were talking about the archaeotech locations, is that I really envisage these as a combination of both technology and organic. So there would be a lot of rat bone totems in there, and a lot of handmade, very sort of Baroque type looking things, and then you would still have that in conjunction with the technology. So you could do a terrain piece that is, I guess a you're free will to do whatever you want with the archaeotech, I guess, but you create something and then you rat skin it, I guess, for use of a better term, where you add, these small little handmade elements, these totems, these signifiers, that maybe the signifiers are only there for the Ratskins to understand the location, so that other tribes coming past go, oh, this is an archaeotech location here, and we need to pay tribute to what we're doing. When a hiver sees it, and they just see like scattered bones or something hanging from a beam or something, they're just like, well, that's, something died and it managed to hang itself, whatever, that's fine. Would you like to say something, Sam?
Oh man, so none of you can see me, but he started talking, and I'm almost like a 2-year-old doing a wee dance, because I'm just like, oh, I've got to get this out. I freaking love that. The concept of these gangers going into this almost like isolated and, quote unquote unexplored section of the hive, and coming in, and there's these like rat skin, like these almost like where there's dead giant rats, and they've been propped up, and in front of them I'm picturing piles of real guns, auto pistols, las guns, grenades, that sort of thing, and these gangers walk and just be like, what kind of idiot is just leaving this stuff here? Because It's technology the Ratskins don't want to use, so they give it in offering to Mother Hive, to these places of worship. And it
Yeah.
just happens that these hivers they've been allowed to get closer and closer and closer to this central point, because the Ratskins know once they get into this particular room, I guess, there's no way for them to get out. And when they're killed, their equipment is then, well, you shouldn't have trespassed on sacred ground. And oh, this sword, I press this button, and the sword starts to hum. Well, that clearly needs to be given to the hive, and they add it to the pile, and it's like this treasure trove of weapons and tech and personal shields and that, because the Ratskins don't want to use any of it.
Yeah.
And
But I have a little quibble with that idea, in the fact that if they are led to that area, or they're allowed to get into that area, so that the Ratskins can garner more items to offer up as tribute, or as a pseudo sacrifice, I guess, would that not lead to some sort of malicious type intent or behaviour within their mind?
absolutely not. They have not reacted until the hivers are desecrating their sacred place.
Right. So you're getting very technical on me here. It's
Yeah,
like,
man. Yeah, man.
it's
You
like
just got lawyered.
Yeah, we can lead you to the water, but if you drink it,
If you drink it, we filled it with arsenic.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you really thirsty? There's some water right there.
Yeah.
And this Ratskin, who I'm just imagining is wearing like those glasses with a fake mustache. He's clearly dressed as a Ratskin, but he's got this hat.
Yeah.
He's got the glasses with the fake mustache. And this guy's like, yes, my name is Billy T. Hiver. Yes.
The T standing for Timmy,
Billy.
obviously.
See, I'm not a one-dimensional Timmy enthusiast. I also am an enthusiast for people named Billy.
I
and then
will
they drink the
say-
water, and
I
they've
will
actually
say
poisoned
to
the water.
I will say to the audience, though, I agree, yes, they poison the water, which is wrong, but he is drinking a cup of tea at the moment, and that's why he called that character Billy T, which is...
And my pinky is out because I'm a man of culture.
So, yes, I like what you're saying. I totally agree with it, that it leads to this quite a cool scenario of, the gangers finding the treasure trove and not understanding why somebody or some peoples would leave all this behind. But yeah, we need to make sure that the Ratskins, any of their actions can't be deemed as malicious unless they are naughty Ratskins.
But that's the thing. They would retreat. But as we said, these locations containing archaeotech are often the only static territories held by the nomadic Ratskins. So they will defend them. And if they can see that the risk of the cost of life of the Ratskins is going to be lesser by allowing you to get to a certain point and then getting you, I think that's how they would do it.
That's good. I actually like that theory. So they begin to weigh up the concept of, okay, well, they're clearly going to end up in one of our sacred territories. So how do we make this less impactful for our tribe?
Exactly.
We get them when they're vulnerable, and they're going to be vulnerable when they're rummaging through all the stuff we've left on the ground, because we've seen other hivers do the same thing as well.
Exactly.
Right. Oh, that's cool. I still would love to see a terrain piece done up, an archaeotech terrain
done.
piece. Yeah,
Done.
I think that would be
I'm
cool.
going to do a little gang relic, Ratskin style, maybe like a stone outcropping, and then maybe I've got a couple of nice big rat skulls here from just many years of skull pieces, and I'll
I
put some
thought
of
you were
them up.
talking about like an actual literal rat skull for a second.
No,
Which
I'm weird,
would-
but I'm not strange.
That would actually be really cool. Imagine a giant rat skull in the middle of their archaeotech.
I will find a rat skull for you.
It would look cool, and it would also be very, very intimidating. Be like, wow, so that's the actual size they can get to if given
Yeah.
enough corpse starch.
Well,
Right,
we will talk about a giant rat later on. But yeah, like I'm gonna make that a cool little gang relic, maybe for a mission we run, and the offering of weaponry and tech with the maybe the skulls of unbelievers
Yes,
around,
yeah, yeah,
or those who have dared to violate Mother Hive. I think that would be awesome.
yeah, and have some. You would have like overgrown sections because we talk about them cultivating and them, basically having these ecosystems. I can see them having like a moss or a grass or something along those lines that they
Yeah.
build around this, because for me they would see the archaeotech as something that breeds life into the hive.
Yes.
The warmth and the energy is why the creatures gather around it, or it's something that when activated once every however many cycles actually draws so much of the beasts towards it, and it could just be some sort of signaling device that is actually designed to draw the beasts to that point so that you can farm them or at least kill them before they destroy your camp or something along those lines. So that would be really cool to make it a terrain piece that has actually got quite a lot of organic elements to it, and not just the slab sided or the heavily industrialized elements of Necromunda that we're so used to.
Yeah. Oh, that's sick. But we're gonna re-rail this bad boy. I've done quite a job of derailing it here. We're going to talk a little bit about Ratskins and Hivers. Now, we've talked about how the vast majority of Ratskins try to isolate themselves away from the majority of the inhabitants of Necromunda, though some Ratskins hire out as guides or trackers, and a few become semi-civilized as a result of contact with Hivers. They can be found and hired in the larger settlements, such as Dust Falls, or as we like to call it, the Free State of Zep,
Free State of Zep, yep, represent.
Glory Hole, and Dead End Pass. There are a few expeditions that would venture into the unknown waste zones without the expert aid of a Ratskin tracker. Sadly, some Ratskins are attracted to the strange ways of Hivers and acquire a taste for intoxicants, gambling, and riotous living. These troublesome individuals hang around the settlements until the inhabitants lose patience and throw them out into the wastes. Bands of Ratskin renegades are a nuisance to settlers and their own kin, and have a well-deserved reputation for savagery. This is what we were talking about before, where, they've allowed themselves to almost become tainted by society, and have how would I say it? Going back to our Roman sort of analogy from earlier, they've become a little bit too used to wine.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. They've drank the Kool-Aid, or in this particular case, the intoxicants. And
Exactly.
they are going, this is the better way of living. This is my preferred way of living now. And you end up having these people who are giving into their savage nature. So we see that there's a place for the Ratskin, but in limited numbers within the hive. And that's coming not only from their way of living, but also from the hivers and the gangers, and saying that we don't want a lot of Ratskins in our towns, in our communities, because they're not good for us. They hang around the settlements until the inhabitants lose patience and throw them out into the waste. So they are not seen as something that is productive or something that is positive for the hive, which goes against everything that they would have been taught whilst growing up. That you don't necessarily have to be productive and working on a production line to be important. All you have to do is make sure that from a spiritual point of view, you are maintaining the hive. You're maintaining the spirit of the hive and the spirit of your tribe. So it's actually quite sad that it's one of the saddest parts of the read I've read, to be honest. Well, that you've read, to be honest. It's just, yeah, they're getting booted out. And it's only because they're tapping into a lifestyle that is not for them, you know.
Yeah, it. Let's be honest, it sucks. Necromunda has never been said to be a great place, but this is really where it starts talking about the Ratskin renegades. The ones who have basically not really allowed back into their own tribes. They were also known as bad skins. But, if we move into sort of a little bit of information about them,
Yeah, absolutely.
and we actually have some more information for that one here.
Yeah, and exactly what you were talking about, the renegades and the bad skins. So we're well aware that the tribes are reclusive and insular by nature. They avoid the hivers, and even those tribesmen that do come in contact with the hivers, they're even shun themselves a little bit, as they are considered to be tainted by the civilization they've interacted. Unfortunately, due to curiosity, desperation, or vengeful motivation, which they're not allowed to have, some Ratskins do find themselves embroiled in the matters of the hivers. For this they are exiled by their former tribesmen, and they may never return. These bad skins often become vagrants, gamblers, troublemakers, though some do find legitimate work as guides or trappers for established hive organisations. However, these bad skins will only ever find companionship amongst their own kind, and occasionally drift together to form groups of Ratskin renegades, becoming violent and looting and stripping hive territories dry before moving onwards. These Ratskin renegade tribes are organised much like normal Ratskin tribes, led by a chief who is elected from amongst the warriors of the tribe, accompanied by the warriors and unexperienced braves armed with whatever they can loot or purchase from the black market dealers. So the idea that you have renegades and bad skins that are the braves, the unexperienced braves, I struggle with that concept a little bit because they are drifting away.
I have a theory.
Okay, enlighten me.
It's actually leaning very heavily on something you've been leaning very heavily on. You cannot commit violence against someone else.
Yeah. Yep.
And as a teenager, these young, unexperienced braves, maybe they weren't able to hold their emotions in check. Maybe they weren't able to restrain themselves when they see hivers violating one of these sites, and they've attacked them, or they've defended themselves, but the other Ratskins around them look at them and think maybe you went too far.
Yeah,
have these younger members been expelled from the tribes and have unfortunately fallen in with these Ratskin renegades and badskins?
But they don't have a choice because they're now being rejected from their tribes. They're rejected by the hivers. So what happens to anybody? You form some sort of community. And if that community means that you need to form together as a group of Ratskin renegades or badskins, then so be it. That's what you become. But just the notion of them becoming violent and looting and stripping hive territories dry before moving onwards, it's really quite a sad degradation from everything that we've read about them, about the whole spiritual nature, about not being violent, about trying to maintain and preserve the hive, about being self-sufficient, and now they've become the complete opposite of that,
Yes.
And that's heartbreaking. That I find is probably the saddest. You would do up these Ratskin renegades with almost an air of like bleakness to them, that there is they have no future. The renegades, they have no future. They have no way of establishing themselves with their past, and henceforth they can't really create any sort of standing going forward because no clan house will ever back them. No noble house will ever back them.
You are wrong.
Right.
They do have a way to purify themselves.
Oh, do they really?
And that is in the form of becoming a totem warrior. Now, the totem warriors are those amongst the Ratskin renegades who seek to purify themselves in the sight of the hive spirits. For this, they are revered by the Badskins as well as the more peaceful Ratskin people. They are seen as wandering warrior pilgrims who spend their time on quests or in prayer trances to the spirits of the hive. In their devotion to the spirits, the totem warriors believe that by slaying an opponent in close combat, they can actually absorb their enemy's soul, therefore avoiding the spiritual vengeance of their opponents as well as adding to their own power. So while totem warriors eschew ranged combat in all cases, their purification rituals and superstitions do invest themselves in their melee weaponry. To the Ratskins, these totem warriors are infused with the power of the spirits of the hive, and when in the hands of the totem warriors, they can inflict damage far beyond that of their normal type. So you gave me the perfect segue into that little bit of a read.
You're welcome. That was entirely what I was intending.
Yeah, but it's crazy. It's crazy because, you are absolutely right. These poor bastards have reacted in a way that maybe they haven't been able to contain themselves. And they've been pushed out. So they've found like members, possibly former members of their own tribe or very similar tribes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they're still just teenagers. They're still just kids.
Yeah.
Or they're just dumb young adults, and these proper hard nut bad skins are like, it's like classic street gang recruitment. Come with us. We'll look after you. You're alone now. Others can pick on you. Others can hurt you. If you're with us, no one's hurting you. We are the ones who do the hurting.
Yeah.
Like it's that mindset there. It's that gang initiation and
and very brutal.
It's grim.
Yeah.
It's grim.
Don't let no Goliath hear you saying that word.
Honestly, I've got a pocket full of Crayola. I just throw them in the opposite direction and run. But it sucks, and I think a lot of it comes down to what we talked about before. That anti-barbarian turning them into a Roman mentality. But it's almost like for the Ratskins who, and I hate using this word, who lived in that utopia that we mentioned earlier, where their life was simple. They travelled, they loved Mother Hive, they looked out for their own, and they avoided conflict. Where maybe you started out as a Ratskin scout and you were shepherding pilgrims from one side of the hive across your territory to the other to make sure they didn't damage any of your sacred sites. And all of a sudden, one day one of these pilgrims gives you a Game Boy. And you're just like, oh, what's this Pong? And next thing you know, you and your mates are trapping Van Sar and skinning them for their radiation suits. Like, it's a slippery slope, and it sucks. But,
the temptation is what you're talking about here. It's the temptation of the hive, which is, it's a weird thing to say because a hive is not a tempting place to be. Unless you're right up the top, there's nothing good about living in the hive, especially in the underhive and the wastelands which they would be occupying. So these small temptations is what drive them onwards to break away from their tribe and their utopia. And that, to me, is a very sad outcome for them. But it also allows us to have Ratskins that way. Otherwise, they just become a lyrical part of the game that you can't touch. You can't get near. Just like for many, many years, there was, Primarchs in 40k that you could never, you could only ever talk about them and how great they were and, how evil they were and all their facets in them and their characteristics, but you weren't able to display them on the tabletop. What is sad about this is that we can talk about all the great aspects of the Ratskins, but it's only the bad ones we can talk about in terms of the game. And this is harping back to something that I said a little bit earlier about arbitrators using them in games. you have these nomadic tribes that are purely there defending themselves. So they're not like the renegades. They use the renegade models, go for your life, but they're not like them. They would, there would be no coup de grace happening when you use this
Yes.
gang.
Yes.
There would be no, shooting at pinned opponents and so
Man,
forth. Yeah.
draw an imaginary line down a third of your battlefield.
Yep.
And set up your Ratskin models and go, you don't tell anyone where that line is,
Yeah.
but in your mind as an arbitrator, any model that crosses that line,
Yeah.
your Ratskins move towards to attack that person because they've trespassed.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And then just put them down and then fall back.
Yes, that's the key point of this. They would flesh wound them, or they would seriously injure them, or they could skull them, who knows. But they're not going to do, as I said, they're not going to coup de grace, and they're not going to shoot at them if they're already on the ground rolling around in pain. Because in their mind, okay, I've put you where you need to be, outside of my protectorate, my little territory, or you are not going to be able to wander in here. So I'm in control of this.
Yeah, I love that. One thing I wanted to mention before that had just completely slipped my mind until then is in regards to the totem warriors, how they look to almost cleanse their souls in the eye of the hive spirits. And we'd mentioned earlier that a lot of the lore from the original Ratskins had been transferred over into the Ashwaste Nomads. Do you remember that Apocrypha Necromunda, Halfway Dead? It was about the nomads and how you could use the Sunga warrior spirits, and you could take on the persona of one of those spirits there. I find that really cool, and this is a great, like you said about the arbitrators, you could do 6 members of this gang, where each of them was running off the stat line of, a champion of a nomad war party, and literally have one of them as each of the different warrior spirits, but they were representing a different facet of the hive spirits of Mother Hive.
Yeah, right.
So you'd have that ability they could use once per battle. I think that would be a really cool way to sort of create your own little dramatis personae for this Ratskin gang that you're creating. It just came to me before, and I'm like, that would be cool.
Awesome, yeah. So they become these spirit channels, they become these totem warriors, and maybe they've amassed together, and they are because they do, as you said earlier, they go on quests, they go on missions.
Did you just have a gang idea?
Well, sort of. Yeah, I guess it is a gang.
That's sick.
Yeah. So you have these 6 members who go off, and you can recruit more to them, but the whole principle would be to try and have 6 totem warriors in there, even if it's the champion, the leader, the champions are your totem warriors to begin with, and then you try and do everything in your power to get your gangers up to that level as well, because maybe they're totem warriors in a lesser sense. They are in the beginning stages of trying to change their path to become redeemed.
What did they remind me of? The Bretonnian paladins.
Yes.
Where they're on that quest to meet the Lady of the Lake. The questing knights.
Yes. Yeah.
And they've got the squires with them. In my mind, oh dude, this idea is sick. You'll have a leader who's a totem warrior, but has dedicated himself to, Mother Hive. And then you have his 6 champions who are... this is how I'd run them as an arbitrator. So, effectively as nomads, your nomad chief, then run the 6 of them as 6 nomad champions, each with one of those particular Sungar warrior spirits.
Yep.
And then the rest of your gang could only be Juves, because they're they're fresh braves that have, been forced out of their tribes or have unfortunately had to leave, who have joined up with this group of totem warriors because their chieftain has said, join us, we will cleanse your spirit, and you'll be able to return to our people. And he hasn't said you'll either return pure or as a corpse, and then your family can mourn you.
Yeah, yeah.
And that would be a sick arbitrator gang.
It'd be really cool. But then the key thing about this is make sure their weapons are basic, especially for the totem warriors.
Well, it's all close combat.
It's all close combat.
They can only be close combat.
But no, like power weapons. You know what I mean? No, maybe the top end of the technology is a chainsword. That's as far as you go. Something motorized.
That would be the absolute
that would be
max I can imagine.
Yeah, they're just like, we don't really appreciate you using a motorized weapon, but we understand that we need to carve through, a particularly tough bit of steel, or, we're taking on armoured foes, or the millisors are getting incredibly tough. We need something to chop them up with. But the Juves, on the other hand, the Juves are there to learn. And so the Jews are given weapons to hold back with. Watch what the totem warriors are doing. Don't try and get involved, because you'll probably end up dead and not redeemed. That's the word I'm looking for. You won't end up redeemed. So from a distance, you watch, and you have your missile weapons and your ballistic weapons and whatever else case. But they always carry a little hatchet or a blade or something along those lines, that if they need to, they can get involved in the fight. But
I love this.
Yeah, the Juves would be there.
And then the only pets you can get is giant rats.
Obviously.
Meals on wheels.
Yes.
No, meals on squeals.
That's actually good. I like that.
Meals and squeals. Yeah, I love it.
But that would be a really cool gang to have. And as I say, and as you say, it is an arbitrator's gang. It is something that drives your scenario, or it's something that just pops up and you go, these are on a quest to kill your Van Sar. Why? Because you went and looted. You got upset because we're killing Van Sar. Okay.
I am upset because we're killing Van Sar. In fact, there's a lot of dying Van Sar coming up very soon.
But the Van Sar are the ones who went and looted, tech, and it wasn't even a sacred site. But the totem warriors know that they have, raided this particular area and killed, particular scientists or particular, what's the ADMEC, who are studying these devices. So that's an interesting. Actually, I'm not going to segue myself. Derail myself just yet. But then
do it.
You would.
Do it.
No, just wait. Let me finish this bit. So you would have this group that would be sent off, and their quest is to bring the head of or recapture some equipment. So your gang would then be classified as having. Your gang would then be classified as having like a stash, and that's what the totem warriors would be taking away from them. So the scenario, your gang is there to hold on to the stash, but the totem warriors are just pouring in over the top of you, and they got their juves everywhere, and they're popping up out of nowhere as well, because they know the hive like the back of their hand. But my little own personal derail was, it just popped into my head then about how the Ratskins would interact with something like the ADMEC, people who are studying the technology. They are still taking it away and so forth.
Yeah, that's the thing. At the end of the day, they're taking it. So I think the Ratskins would react very, very simply with defensive violence.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. That would make a lot of sense, that they would go, no. You're just as bad as the Van Sar.
But, no, it depends on the Adeptus Mechanicus in question. Like, if you had one of those sort of like explorator types where they find the Archaeotech, take it back, man, yeah, the Ratskins are going to put them down. She's a quick, slingshot to the back of the head, and, or they drop a bucket of water on him and fry the servos or something. Yeah. But you would have, oh man, I can't remember the exact description for them, but the Adeptus Mechanicus that simply, watch Like they find Archaeotech and they just look at it. They look at the people around it, and they're almost like David Attenborough,
Yeah.
but like with mechadendrites.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
As you can see here, the Ratskins are praying to the toaster, and unfortunately, oh yes, look, they've got 3 thick slices of bread. I couldn't think of another word for bread, but in a Necromunda fashion. But yeah, like they'd just be watching it and be like, all right, yeah, cool, cool. No,
Yeah.
I can't really get this thing out of here because these these dudes will kill me. But also, yeah, it's actually pretty fun to watch. He's just documenting it, talking to a gorilla. Yeah, nah, I
A
think
little AdMech gorilla. Just
yeah, he's 3 feet tall. He's I don't know. Didn't Ark and Land have a robotic monkey? Yeah, and he had a
Yes, he
stinger
did.
on the end of his tail.
Yes, you did too, yeah. So there's precedence for it. Yeah.
Yeah, boom. Adeptus Mechanicus gorilla. I want.
Yeah.
Oh shit! It's a Jakero.
No, but like it has to be more Adeptus Mechanicus than that.
It's got
Yeah.
tracks instead of legs.
Yes, yes, perfect. Excellent.
Yeah. But speaking of killing Van Sar,
Yes.
why don't you read about our first true Ratskin dramatis personae?
Brakar, the Avenger, he that rains death. When members of a Ratskin tribe found a man on the verge of death in a secluded, crumbling tunnel, they took him in and nursed him back to health. How he had come to be there and how he had received his horrendous head wounds were a mystery to everyone, most of all to the man himself. In time he recovered physically, though his memories remained blank. He could still speak and knew how to use the heavy stubber that had been found beside him with deadly accuracy, but no clue as to who he was. While he was away from the tribe, a Vansar gang attacked the Ratskins and killed them to a man. He returned to find the Vansars picking over the bodies of his rescuers, and a rage drove them off single-handedly, killing over half of them with short, lethal bursts from his weapon. Since that time, they say he has roamed the wilderness of the Underhive alone, aiding any Ratskin tribes he encounters who may need his help, and meting out vengeance on all those who would attack his Ratskin brothers without cause. The Ratskin tribes have given him the name of their god of war and revenge. He is Brakar, the Avenger, he that rains death. It's almost like a bedtime story for little baby Ratskins. And also like a
Yes.
threatening story for little baby Vansar.
It's not their fault. They just wanted the tech. But at the same time, also, leave the Ratskins alone. Leave them
Yes.
alone.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
He's interesting.
Brakar's
Though. He's a very
awesome.
interesting character. He's awesome, but I
Yeah.
find him very interesting in the sense that he's obviously not a Ratskin. He is.
I don't believe he is, no.
No, and that's why his thoughts of vengeance don't sort of impact his way of life. He's like, well, no. If your name has a Van or a Sar or even just a V and an S in it, you're getting gunned down by me.
He basically just doesn't like the Dutch. So the big thing is, I'm with you. I don't believe he is a Ratskin, but how was he able to speak with them? Because we remember the Ratskins don't speak Imperial Gothic; they speak a separate
true.
language. So I have the feeling that if he's a man that's found on the verge of death in a secluded, crumbling tunnel. All right, he has no idea how he got there and how he got the horrendous head wounds. So he recovers physically, no memories, but he's able to speak, by my guess, the Ratskin language.
But he could have learned that.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's either learned it
Yep.
or he is someone who was possibly raised by Ratskins.
Oh, right.
He's a non-Ratskin who has been raised by Ratskins.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember the Brickar model. The dude was a
Yeah.
monster.
Yeah,
Um,
jacked.
Yeah,
And his heavy
jacked
stubber
beyond.
is very,
Oh,
very cool because at the time, the design for that heavy stubber was very different to the Imperial Guard heavy stubber at the time. Or it sort of looked
yeah.
more like an orcish weapon, which gave it this, like, I don't know, this extra level of brutality to it.
Okay, he's an orc who lost the pigment. No,
So he's not evil,
he's not evil. He's a good guy,
he's just doing what comes naturally to him.
which is why he hates the Dutch. Good point. No, I think he may. I think he may be a non-Ratskin who was raised by Ratskins, possibly a Goliath, possibly just a really big hiver.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's. He reminds me of Conan the Barbarian.
He definitely
when
has
you
that
look at
vibe.
him. Yeah.
Yes, definitely has the Conan the Barbarian vibe. But I love the lore there for him is that it particularly says he will met out vengeance on all those who would attack his Ratskin brothers without cause. Those that attack the Ratskins with cause, he's like, I can sort of understand where you're coming from. Give it to him. Yeah.
I think this is that key point of he almost reminds me of this wandering. He's a totem warrior with a heavy stubber, where he's just like, I don't know who I am, so I will travel and help any Ratskin tribe that finds me, because they're going to see me. They're going to see how I'm dressed. I speak their language. I have their totems. They're going to know I'm one of them. And if they need help, or if I find Ratskins in need of assistance, that's how I will gain. That's how Mother Hive will give me back who I am. That's how she will give me back my memories and give me back my identity, by continuing to help my fellow Ratskins, despite the fact he's obviously a Goliath.
I love your canon you're creating for him there, and you said it at
It's
the very
been 30
beginning.
years, we don't know yet.
Yeah. So yeah, I love what you said at the very beginning there, talking about how he's almost lost between two worlds. Like he's not looking for redemption. He's just looking to protect the people that protected him, the Ratskins that brought him back from the brink of death. So there's something very necromundan about him, and then also something very Ratskin about him, in that he's not looking for the violence. He's simply bullying the bullies, So
He's willing to take the violence upon himself to save other Ratskins. He's like, genuinely, I look at him, he's just like, I can take the evils away from my brothers and sisters and punish those who would attack them.
Yes.
Because I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
I possibly cannot be saved, but
Yeah.
I can save them. He is the avenger.
Yes.
He is he that reigns death
Yeah.
in defense of his kin.
Yeah, I love that actually. That the idea of him taking on all the things that would corrupt a tribe.
Yes. Yes, almost he's that lone Ronin.
Yes.
Traveling from village to village. He's Gotrek. He's like, what's your monster? What's your big bad? I can
Yes.
help you. It might kill me, at which point it is what it is, but I can do some good.
Yes, exactly. And the good is not built upon the idea that I am trying to gain any sort of like redemption. The good is built on the fact of I am just doing good to return the good that was given to me.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, he sounds like a really cool character now that we've extrapolated.
He sounds like a great guy.
He really does. I want to see more of him.
Well, we can go from a great guy to we can stop the happy, good feelings, and we can talk about someone who is actually kind of a dick, and that's the Caller. Now, the Caller was one of Clovis the Redeemer's most dangerous foes. when he emerged in possession of an ancient relic known as the Bloodmare Stone to unite many of Necromunda's most downtrodden groups, composed of mutants, Ratskins, Scabbies, and other outcasts. The goal of his alliance was to overthrow Imperial rule and topple the Spire. The caller rode to battle astride the animated remains of an ancient rat god, which had long been buried deep beneath Necromunda. The Bloodmare Stone allowed the caller to install a great spirit of resistance to the Ratskin tribes of Necromunda. It could also send a blast of energy forward to actually attack his enemies. Now, the description isn't great. I get that. But the caller was awesome. He was like this crazy evil. He's in the Redeemer graphic novel, which is obviously focused around Clovis the Redeemer. Honestly, one of my absolute favourite Black Library sort of creations ever. But he is this Ratskin, like an evil totem warrior, like a death knight. He rides to battle on this huge, reanimated, dead rat. Like, this thing is the size of, like, I don't know, man, like a Ridge Runner. The thing is massive.
Yeah, right.
And
I've seen the miniature. I didn't realise it was that big.
oh, dude, he's so big. It's so cool. And he basically gets everyone, and he reminds me, this is once again the correlation between the old Ratskins and the modern nomads, where he's uniting all of these tribes, much like the Lady of Ash did, where she united all the nomad tribes to possibly try and bring down the Imperial presence on Necromunda, where the caller wanted to simply bring down Imperial rule and topple the actual spire of Hive Primus. And it's actually really cool, the fight between him and Clovis the Redeemer.
Wow. Yep.
I don't want to ruin it, but you know the Arachnarok spider from the Goblins range?
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to ruin it, but Clovis basically turns one of them into a horse, and it's awesome, and it's an ancient spider god.
Really?
Yeah. We really need to. You need to read this book.
I do, because we're talking about
amazing.
gods and powers and so forth, and especially a redemptionist dabbling with them.
Oh, you want to talk about redemptionist dabbling? At one point, Clovis the Redeemer, Malakev, his little like hobbit companion, the guy, he's like the robot at the moment, but he used to be like a real flesh and blood man. And Clovis basically fills him up with slort and is like, go kill everything. And Malakev's just like, okay, and kills like 100 enemies. But let's take it back to the caller.
Yeah, right. Wow.
The caller is basically this. He becomes this sort of under-underhive warlord and collects, mutants, multiple Ratskin tribes, huge groups of Scabbies, which is another group we're inevitably going to crack the vault open on, and this outcast gangers and criminals and malcontents, and literally it's an army. It's very Aranthian Succession. This army of just hodgepodge, like murderers, going settlement to settlement, trying to drag down Imperial rule. And I don't want to spoil anything for anyone, but Clovis the Redeemer is still here, and the caller isn't.
I was going to say that there was an outcome. And,
there was an outcome.
The caller didn't call it. It's just...
Well, the caller doesn't call it. He does wind up with an axe in his chest, but it is never confirmed that he died. Much like my boy, Karloth Valoy. They never found his body, therefore he's not dead.
Righto, okay.
Yeah. Blood Angels players, unlike Sanguinius, we know where his body wound up. But yeah, so the caller
Kick 'em for
was
the sake of kicking them. Yeah.
the caller was absolutely great. I love his model, the giant rat, and I'm looking at this. I can make that giant rat with the plastic zombie dragon from Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I have so many gangs already. But it doesn't count if I make it for an arbitration gang, does it?
No, it doesn't, because that's different. That's it's different in the sense that it's
building community.
there we go. Yes.
Boom. I can start another gang if it's for community.
Yeah, absolutely. Explain that to your wife.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
I'm going to start looking at miniatures after we finish this recording. But, so those are the two sort of N95 dramatis personae for the Ratskins. Now, in modern Necromunda, we actually do have a Ratskin in the form of Scabs from the Cal Jericho and Scabs fame.
Oh yeah. He's only
half Ratskin.
Yeah, he's half Ratskin. Yeah,
I believe his mother was a Ratskin.
Right, interesting. So yeah, he does have the rules. There was way back when I managed to get them recently about half-breed. So
Yeah.
So just saying that he has extensive knowledge of the passageways and tunnels of the Underhive, and the gang that includes him can subtract one from the scenario dice roll to determine which scenario the players will fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they got rid of that for the modern version of Scabs.
Yeah,
And he's
yeah.
basically just a gifted forager now.
Yeah,
I think it lets him find rare goods better. But yeah, he genuinely is sort of the only remaining character with mention of being full or even partial even full Ratskin.
Yeah, right. There was another mention of them somewhere else, wasn't there? Ratskins.
Yes, so in rulebooks, the last time Ratskins have actually been mentioned as a people was the Gangs of the Underhive book. It's basically where we got a lot of this information from, ironically, where a lot of the modern stuff comes out as, there are Ratskin raids, and it talks about the Ratskins themselves and small glimpses into their society. But when it comes to sort of official publications and that sort of thing, apart from Emperor's Eyes, a couple of those Denny Flowers novels and I believe the latest Cal Jericho novel. Yeah. There are still modern references to the Ratskins, but unfortunately we just don't have models for them anymore, which, if you're finished talking about lore, is really where we can start talking about next.
The fun stuff.
How
to spend your money.
So what you're going to do firstly is jump onto our Patreon at patreon.com/the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. And once you've sold us your kidneys, we sell you kidneys and you give us the money.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works.
These are the ways we would really look at bringing Ratskins on the table into modern Necromunda. Now, me and Nath have separately looked at various model ranges from 40k, fantasy, the old world, Warcry, Necromunda, everything we can. And Nath, well, you can go first. What model kit are you looking at to maybe bring Ratskins back to Necromunda?
Look, we're probably on the same wavelength, but the Untamed Beasts.
You bastard.
But it's Warcry. Warcry wants to be Necromunda.
Oh, it wants to be Necromunda so bad, but the Untamed Beasts are perfect.
They are. So many of the Warcry miniatures just offer themselves. They're just like, hey, we understand we're built for a different game system, but in our heart of hearts, we're built for Necromunda, as is every miniature. But the Untamed Beasts are just incredible They fit the billing so well in the sense that you can, with very, very little work, begin to create yourself a gang with this. So maybe just, the addition of probably a few shotguns and maybe an auto pistol here. But remember, they are renegades. So all the extra bits and gubbins and all the things that make them probably look a little bit too violent actually fit the gang perfectly. So
Yes.
as one of the more pacifist gangs, maybe not, but as the renegade element or the bad skin, they are perfect because they've got so many of these bone relics and so many parts of their armor that are actually, I don't know, just fur pelts plus also bits of bone that have been shaped into armor.
Yes.
They do have that dog thing with them, which I don't know what it's called, but it looks very, very cool. And,
A rock tusk prowler.
a rock tusk prowler, yes. You just put a little green stuff over the eight-pointed star, or even just take out one of the stars and say it's an Aranthian. And it's a seven-pointed reference for everybody, because that's the Aranthian star. And that is something that you could say, yeah, they they know about this beast, and it's a reclusive beast on Necromunda, and you get to use it, and maybe just use the rules for a Mastiff or something like that to
Oh, that's good.
to run it within your gang. And again, it is a gang that is going to definitely need an arbitrator to run alongside of it. Not necessarily to run the gang, but if you wanted to take it, you'd have to be pretty liberal with the way that you go in the rules. One of the things that I really love though is on the champion with the horned helmet and that tooth, like it's almost like a saw-tooth blade that he's swinging as a two-hander. I could see that on a Ratskin as something that they've taken from a creature. And that's what I love about the Untamed Beasts as well, is they look like they've taken so many of their weapons from creatures, and that would
Yes.
suit
Yes,
the
they're
Ratskins so
literally
well.
scavenging everything.
Yes, exactly. And it would just suit them so well, so perfectly. The furs, they sort of work, but again, the only thing you'd maybe need to add to these is a few basic weapons, I think. And you have pretty much everything that you're looking for there.
Yeah, hands down. Hands down. A couple of little gubbins here and there. And yeah, I think they are probably one of the two best ways to start Ratskins. Like these ones here, in my opinion, look a little bit more savage. Like these are totem warriors. I'm
Yes,
looking at these and just being like, these are totem warriors. They've gone full close combat. That the one you're talking about, the two-handed bone sword with the teeth sticking out of it, man, like a little bit of accoutrements over the side of that, you've got yourself a chainsword. Like,
True.
You can really play with some of those models there. Okay. I did call you a bastard earlier. Listen.
Well, now that we've had the best, what's the rest?
Yeah. Man. Once again, it's a Warcry set. I'm talking
Obviously.
Dark Oath Savages.
Oh, yes.
These are, in my mind, heading towards that bad skin route where they are like, firstly, this is lorically how I would bring the Ratskins into modern Necromunda. We did mention it before. We've sort of skirted around it. I believe a lot of the reasons maybe the Ratskins haven't been reintroduced into modern Necromunda is some of the racial connotations between the old models and maybe negative stereotypes that they do portray there. We don't want to go into them.
No,
we all know what
we're
they
talking
are.
about the fun bit about it.
Yeah, we're talking about the good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And the pushing the negative connotations aside and bringing them into modern Necromunda, in my opinion, is very, very simple. And it comes down to two words: techno barbarians. Instead of
Yes.
focusing on the previous perspective, you literally carry everything across, and you turn them into techno barbarians who, with the exact same law, they avoid conflict. They worship Mother Hive. They have these sacred archaeotech points, and at the same time, you have groups of them who stray from the path of their people and turn savage because they embrace the barbarian aspect of who they are, where their society is much simpler. The rules are very simple. You honor the hive, you respect your elders, and
Yeah.
you fight opposing tribes. And that's where the Dark Oath Savages, in my mind,
You
are
fight
perfect.
opposing tribes. I like
You
that.
fight your opposing tribes because, once again,
Right.
I believe in the spirit of tremors. You
Yep.
believe in the spirit of casings. And, I'm a black tooth. What did I call the other ones? I don't know, you're a mushroom chewer.
Yeah.
I chew charcoal before battle. We are not the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, although we're going to fight those hivers together, at the end of the day, I still don't like you.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yeah.
by destroying you, absorbing your tribe into my own, I become stronger. I gain additional territory. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
that's when I look at the Dark Oath Savages. Oh man, you slap a little bit of armor onto them, some chainmail here and there. Some looted relics from Vansar or Escher or Goliath.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
you said, some shotguns, a blunderbuss.
A blunderbuss,
man,
yes, like the classic Renegades had on one of the Jews.
yes, yes.
Even just have a
Like
musket on
it's-
the back, like no use for it, but they just throw it on the back. But
Yes.
I will say from the Dark Oath Savages, the lass with I think it's a throwing axe and the spear
And the
is-
spear. Oh,
is perfect. Is like
that
again,
mohawk is just
yeah,
glorious.
again is made
Yeah.
for your particular techno barbarians, and you're totally right in what you're saying here. You throw just a few little bits and bobs on here, and suddenly you have, a very 40k looking techno barbarian, a very sort of, sci-fi driven, but clearly the lower end of the sci-fi, the low tech
Exactly.
end. Yeah, yeah.
It's dystopian, post-apocalyptic instead of, Star Wars or Star Trek. It's
Yeah, yeah.
it's genuinely, society has regressed.
Yeah.
And it is still a society, but it's not one you want to visit. And that's what I'm saying. Like, by embracing that techno barbarian aspect, by stripping away the civilized elements, you can really create some very cool under-underhive types that that can just exemplify the short and brutal nature that is life on Necromunda.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in total agreement with you. And there is, across the Warcry range, there's sets that offer one or two miniatures that would be perfect for this. And if we step away from the concept of rat skin, that they have to be wearing rat skins, you can really begin to explore that idea of techno barbarian. So
Yes.
we go, okay, maybe they're a type of techno barbarian that only worships fire or something like that, or they saw a Goliath forge once, and so now they become
Yes.
fixated on that concept, but they don't quite know how to do it because they're that far down the hive. As you say, they've regressed. So something like the Scions of Flame could be perfect.
But, with a couple of head swaps, look at the Corvus Cabal.
Yes.
Like, they are lean, they're quick looking, lots of blades, lots of throwing weapons. Throw a pistol in here, throw the Escher Wild Runner bows, slap some of them on there, like the Tarantulos Brood. Once again, that amazing mixture. Maybe not the leader with the 4 arms. Keep him for your Gene Stealer cult game. But the rest of them, with just a few gubbins here and there, some pistols, some shotguns, maybe one of those Cantrell pattern las rifles.
There you go.
I'm not here to judge you. He picked that up from a Van Sar that he managed to club to death. The Warcry range, so much of it, in my opinion, is different tribes of, and I keep saying it, but the under-underhivers.
Yeah.
Where they are...
They're attempting to just survive.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all that's happening.
Oh. Okay, so am I going to get into trouble when I start this? Because I'm going to have to go out and buy a zombie dragon. You realise this. Just to make my version of the caller.
Yeah, what are you going to use as the caller, though?
One of those Darko Savages.
Righto, cool.
Have him sitting up there, riding this huge rat. Give him just a beautiful big axe, and go crazy. Give him a hand flamer.
Oh yeah, because he does have the ability to do that as well.
Yeah, because he's got that stone where he can fire that blast.
Yes, the bloodstone, the blood.
Yeah, the bloodmare stone.
Yes, that's the one.
Bloodmare stone. Oh my God, the Pied Piper of Primus. He's no longer a Cawdor, he's a Ratskin. And he's got a piece of archaeotech, and he's summoning the rats from underneath.
100%.
Oh, damn it! I just talked about how I got more rats.
That is the perfect background for the Pied Piper. That is actually perfect. A Ratskin who still has that connection, and as you say, the archaeotech is what sends a signal out to the rats.
The flute is actually tuned to summon vermin to him, and he simply directs. Okay, damn it! My sullied hand might be taking a back foot for a little bit while I make these rat skins. Oh.
You got to make the rat skin, the Pied Piper.
Yeah, I honestly, I have to make the Pied Piper. So, okay, I got to go out. I have to buy some Dark Oath Savages.
Yeah.
I've got some Corvus Cabal. Between that, my bits box, and I'm gonna have to go out and get the Untamed Beasts.
Yes, you absolutely have to.
It just turned into an expensive day for Spamiel. Listen, I'm not even upset. I'm actually stoked with this. I will make some Ratskins this year. And how am I going to run them?
I was going to give you a time frame, and you give it to yourself. You're like, this year. Yeah. And year as in 12 months, not calendar year. Don't be silly.
No. So by mid-Feb 2020, what year is it? 2024. So mid-Feb 2025, I will have some Ratskins. Or I might just go crazy and build them in the week before Akramunda like I did my Lorekeepers. I've done dumber things.
And then you've still got to build the giant rat as part of that.
The giant rat. Oh.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I need to buy 2 zombie dragons so I can have 4 legs. Damn. That's upset me.
No, that's a fair investment for that conversion. But I think it'll be good. And I have faith in you.
No, screw it. Faith in spam. No. Ham for spam. No.
Sam, he's Sam. Done.
Yeah. Honestly, perfect rhyme. In fact, that's the quote for the end of the episode. No, but so we've talked about Ratskins.
Let me just circle back a little bit here. The quote for the end of the episode. If people heard the last quote, the last episode, that was dropped on me without any knowledge. and then this fool pressed the end of the record button, end of the record,
Yeah.
and that was it. And so we ended up talking about two fantastic hives and ended up with a stupid carrier tit quote. You proud of yourself?
Okay. I was, actually.
Are you still?
Yes, I had a couple of people message me like, what was Nathan saying at the end of that episode? Like, oh, he was upset with the quote. It was like, was that really the quote? I'm like, yeah. There's like, it wasn't great. And I'm like, I mean, it was a quote. It came from an official publication. But so, in regards to bringing the Ratskins back to Necromunda, what do you think about embracing that barbarian, sort of less technologically civilized idea?
Oh, I love that. I love that because it gives you the freedom to step away from the concept of them being Ratskins. Do you know what I mean? And then that, like, we're not... The idea and the ethics and the morals behind being a Ratskin all stay the same, but the chains that are on you to say that they have to be wearing rat skins or, you know, they have to be practicing in this particular way are taken off, and you can really go down and explore the idea of a pseudo gang war happening in the very depths of the underhive between these tribes. You know, I think that's a campaign in itself. You design tribes that are not aligned to houses, and that is freaking cool.
So, should we both make a Ratskin tribe and then fight them against each other and see who has the best hive spirit god?
Tremors all the way, baby. Tremors all the way.
The spirit of casings will smite you with his holy brass.
His holy brass.
Yep.
Yeah, right. The tremors will just make you feel really nauseous all the time. That's worse.
I'm really not good with nausea. You know that. So, yeah, screw it. You win. Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I look at it as a way to embrace the history we currently have for Ratskins while creating an entirely new and distinct culture for them, because that techno-barbarian mindset, when you look at the war... That's it. Warcry is basically Ratskins from different hives.
Yeah.
And by embracing that uniqueness of culture that each of those Warcry crews can bring you. And like I said, like the Escher Wildrunner bows, perfect for it. Or the Beastmasters from Forge World, like they're perfect for them. Like, make one of them your leader, build a gang around them.
Even you could even just go venture down the pathway of like using the Sisters Repentia, and you take away their chainswords and you replace them with, you know, huge blades and so forth, and you have this...
Stop it!
Well, no, just bear with me. You have this female, like a Ratskin tribe, or, you know, techno-barbarian tribe that venerates their female warriors, but provided that they go into combat without armor, and they've got these massive two-handed swords, you know. And then you've got a support cadre of who bring the actual pistols and long-range weaponry and so forth.
Because who better to bring the vengeance of Mother Hive than the mothers of the tribe?
Boom!
Damn you!
Done!
Damn you, that's awesome. You've just invented Ratskin Escher.
Couldn't help myself. Just
love
the
I
Escher.
hate the fact that I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the
I love
Repentia
that.
would be perfect to look like these, you know, techno-barbarian style, because they do look quite brutalized. They do look like there's some issues going on with them. And maybe it is that they have to prove themselves as protectors, and that's the only way they can become mothers within the hive. You know, if you can protect the hive, you can protect your child. And therefore, that is the first path to becoming a mother within this particular techno-barbarian tribe.
Oh, I love that.
So the birth of a daughter is venerated. You're like, oh, we have a mother, we have a, and it could stem from the fact that they were nearly wiped out, just due to low birth rates or whatever the case might be, and so they see the females of the gang as the most important, not the gang, the tribe, the females of the tribe as the most important element, and to that end, they are the most important element because they are the fighters, they are the mothers, they are the providers. And the male, like, you'd still have fighting males who would support, but they put on a pedestal their female warriors.
I love that. Okay, that's your tribe. Yeah. That's your tribe. Yeah. I'm using the Untamed Beasts and the Dark Earth Ravagers. Yeah. You use Repentia. Also, I need some of your Repentia.
Sure. Done and done. Speaking of done and done.
That has been a massive episode. We said this was going to be a nice short look at the history of Ratskins, and I don't know, we started recording like 9 days ago. So, closing thoughts. Closing thoughts. Did you learn anything new about Ratskins?
I did. I was about to say that. I learned so much about the Ratskins, and it's actually made me really want to sort of, not necessarily know more, but explore a place like Necromunda, explore a place like 40k in areas that just don't get touched with the spotlight. These elements of, this is what happens in our day to day, and the next thing is like, what happens on the manufacturing floor, what happens to the, the workers who are shunned or who are kicked out of their manufactorum and so forth. Those small little elements, and the Ratskins feel like that to me. These tiny little, I don't know, elements and these tiny little galaxies within the galaxy. So I really enjoyed it. What about yourself? Did you enjoy the episode?
Not anymore. Not now that I have to go out and buy 2 zombie dragons and like 4 Warcry warbands. I've always loved the Ratskins. I think they're such a cool, unique element to Necromunda. And as a guard player, do you remember the old codex? I think it was like 3rd edition, where it had all the different regiments, and there was actually the Ratskin cavalry listed from Necromunda. Yeah. Oh man, that's when I build them and take them out to the ash waste. I'm gonna have to. I now need to find wolf rats. If someone has wolf rats from the old Sigma or Warhammer Fantasy, please reach out to me. Because I need them now.
They're as rare as rat steak now these days.
But. Oh mate, I love them. I've always loved Ratskins, and talking about them for this long has done nothing but reignite my passion for them.
Yeah, definitely. The miniatures, but something probably we didn't mention earlier, and it's the last thing I will say, is the original Renegade miniatures were just brilliant. Each one had so much character. The Juves were just an absolute favourite of mine, and I think the original first Ratskin, which was the Ratskin Scout, kneeling down, pointing with a shotgun. What an absolute banger! So much life in those miniatures, and in that one in particular as well. So
the whole Ratskin range was just glorious.
Yeah. Anyway,
well,
that's me done.
We can actually close this episode off with a Ratskin themed quote.
Don't do anything carieted.
Give me 1 minute while I find a new quote. No, I'm kidding. And this one comes to us from the Book of Peril. Genuine Ratskin map. No, drawn by the Ratskins, you idiot. And that is Gunther Pollard, Underhive trader. And that was our latest episode of the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. I am Spamiel, and on behalf of the Lorekeeper team, thank you for listening. Please follow us on our social media pages available in the show notes, and don't forget to follow and review us on your preferred podcast platform. As always, if you have questions, complaints, corrections, or if you seek atonement through the destruction of the enemies of Mother Hive, please reach out to us at underhive lorekeepers@gmail.com. Thanks.